It's my version of a chimney.
It's time to get you up to speed on all things sports.
Yes!
With plenty of nonsense in between.
Oh, look! Here comes our fearless producer!
Gwynn and Chris starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into Gwynn and Chris on this Thursday afternoon. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Cello, whenever he pops up, there he is on the on the YouTube feed. Also, Mr. Matt Scraby in the building. All three of us together in different places, or at least I'm in a different place. And all things are good right now.
You think?
Padres 7-0 to start the season. One of two teams that remain undefeated in all of baseball. It has been, that deserves a round of applause for sure to start the season. It has been as good of a start as I think anyone could have imagined. They've played just good baseball to start the season, and so far, so good as we head to Chicago. First off day for the Pods, and I see the weather is not all that great, but supposed to have some rain in the forecast tomorrow. But gentlemen, how is your Thursday afternoon going?
Very good, Tony. Obviously, you're traveling, so you were not part of today's roundtable season debut. But
yes,
we had a good morning, and obviously, I mean, for an hour, we just sang the praises of the National League West second place team, the San Diego Padres. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? They're in second place still, but just sang the praises of everything that's happened for 7 games. It's a little bit difficult. I think as a fan and as somebody watching this team to not just to, predict this is just going to keep going on and on and on and on, for an entire 6 months. I mean, everything you're watching right now, their pitching is, insanely good. The team batting average against the Padres staff right now is 166. You're going to win a lot of games when the other team's hitting 166. You look at the offense, they're hitting 298 and they're hitting 344 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. So every time they get a chance to score, practically they are scoring. The base running is as good as I've ever seen for almost any team over a 7-game stretch. 15 stolen bases, 1 caught stealing, and all of the extra bases they keep taking. The fielding, that's been really good. I think the managing has been perfect. The pitching coach and the hitting, you know what I mean? The broadcasters have been on point. There's nothing, you can't find any weakness at the moment, but we know, Tony, you and I and everybody else in the back of their minds knows that this is not sustainable to go, obviously not going to go 7-0, but I mean, you're going to have some lulls in this season. But right now, boy, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I mean, that's how good they're playing.
Yeah, and I would suggest to everyone to just enjoy it. Enjoy what you're watching right now. It is as close to perfect baseball as you can play. The separator is the base running. It's not anything else. That is the thing that is, I think, stood out more than anything that they've done to this point is the base running. And it may not show up in the way that everybody's looking for, right? I think everybody looks for first to thirds. I think everybody looks now. I mean, at this point, the Padres are making you look for balls in the dirt where they advance.
Unreal.
But how many times in that first homestand did guys leg out the back end of a double play to keep an inning going, and then with 2 outs, someone comes up with a big knock? And so, it's those small things that go along with the other things that I think we have been highlighted a lot that have contributed to them playing so well. And so, it's from a broadcasting standpoint, it's been just a perfect scenario. I mean, lots of different things because they've won with different facets, or they've shown different facets of their game in pretty much all of them. It gives you like a buffet of things to talk about when you're in the game. And so that's how good this team has been. so far. And, and thankfully they've been this good because, as quiet it would be news coverage ad nauseum if the Dodgers were solo right now. I think just the Padres being right there next to them has kind of kept the conversation to somewhat of a minimum.
Yeah, you said buffet. I mean, I would even spread it out a little bit and just make it a flat-out smorgasbord. I mean, it's just right.
What's funny is I was going to use that word,
really?
but I didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't want to butcher it, so I just went ahead and bypassed.
You went with a word that you knew you could get right. Yeah, I mean,
I love a good smorgasbord.
I do too. When it's 7-0 like that, and the base running, Tony. The thing that I think about base running is hitting is going to come and go, pitching is going to come and go. Even defense sometimes comes and goes. Base running really doesn't, it shows up everywhere, right? On the road, at home, at day, at night. There's no reason if you're a good base running team that you can't just always be a good base running team at all times. And I think this is going to serve them well throughout the season. I think of, just yesterday's game. I mean, there was 2 plays on the base running that a lot of people probably who went home didn't even notice it. One was Luis Arraez executing the front end of the double steal to perfection and stopping just long enough to get the second baseman, Daniel Schneemann, to just take a little glance at him. And that gave Fernando enough time to sneak in there with the steal of home. So you can call the double steal, but if the players don't execute it, you look like a dummy. They executed it perfectly. And the second thing, and this was my favorite, maybe my favorite play of the whole homestand, and I know Scraby's tired of hearing about it, but
I am not.
When you have 2 outs and you're not tired of hearing about it.
No,
right?
because this is a great point.
You're going to hear about it again, right? You got 2 outs and a runner at first base. That runner happens to be Jackson Merrill. And actually, I think there was first and second, 2 outs. And you get a simple ground ball to a Gold Glove type third baseman, Jose Ramirez, who grabs it cleanly, throws to second to end the inning on the force. Only Jackson Merrill is safe. And Tony, you watch the game all year long. 99.9% to end an inning when they do a force at second base, the runner's out. But not this guy. And he hustled it. He beat it. And that set up, Gavin Sheets for a bases loaded opportunity. Now, he lined to deep left field, but that could have blown the game open. These are the kinds of things that I love about what I'm seeing so far. And on a personal note, on a day when Jackson Merrill signs that contract, it makes me feel a whole lot better about giving him all the money because this is the kind of stuff that he is doing.
I have a sneaky suspicion you would have felt good about them giving him that money.
Yeah, you're right.
Of what he is.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
What he did.
But you know what I'm saying, right, Tony? I mean, you've been on first before with 2 outs. You say to yourself, hey, I got to get down there and beat the force. But you can hardly ever beat the force. But
I'll say this. It is and this is kind of what you saw last year too. That is how they run the bases, right? They meaning the Padres run the bases, right? He's going in hard there, where most of the time he should be out. Most of the times he should be. Now I will say, and I said this on the air yesterday on the double steal. I thought in real time Luis got too close, and I think it spooked Schneemann when he got close, and then he's looked up and saw Toddy barreling down that line. He probably would have been better served just running Arraez down, and I think he could have got the out prior to Toddy scoring. But but just to put, again, being willing to put teams under that kind of pressure, when you do that, you kind of can make a mistake like that. And I thought Jackson he goes down the second like that all the time.
Yeah. And he's out most of the time, but you know what? This time he beat it.
He doesn't stop doing it. And in that particular case, that ball was hit, just hard or soft enough, however you want to phrase it, to where, it was going to be tough to get whoever was running down first base there. I can't remember who it was at that point.
Yeah, I don't either.
And he decided to go there, and it was the wrong base to throw to because Jackson was already on the second baseman's head.
Yeah, and you're looking at the double steal, too. I thought Bo Naylor, the catcher, made a terrible play. He did not even, I don't believe, even glance in Fernando's direction before he threw to second. So, but, to me, that is what aggressive base running can do. I think it was Jackson Merrill who said that we don't feel pressure, we apply pressure, right? And that seems to be what they're doing right now. And other teams are, making a little mistake here and there.
That's exactly what they're doing. It's funny how different teams are defending that double steal. We saw the Braves throw down. We've seen them not throw at all. And so I think in Bo Naylor's defense, this is a called play. Like, you're throwing down to second because we're going to bank on you getting that out there before this run comes in. And again, I think Schneemann, if he had to do it over again, he probably chases a rise down. But again, when you're constantly putting teams under pressure, mistakes start to happen. They start, and that's what Jackson is saying. By
we apply pressure, we don't feel it.
There you go.
We apply pressure, we don't feel it. There we go. Let's get we got to get the statement.
We apply pressure, we don't feel it.
There you go.
Yeah, they are applying pressure with that base running, and it has definitely stood out through the first 7 games. All right, we're off and rolling. We got lots to get to today. We got 3 hours a day because that round table will be coming on the last hour of our show. Kaylin Kyle, studio host and analyst for MLS Season Pass, will join us, talk a little SDFC and LAFC. Lastly, Jackson Merrill. He has signed on to stay for 9+ years. We'll get into that. Well, why are we crying?
No, it's tears of joy.
No,
that's tears of joy. He's saying
that didn't sound like tears of joy. That sounds like pain right there.
Okay, I'll find a new crying sound.
Yeah, we got to do the different cry because that one sounds painful.
Okay.
Anyway, we're gonna get our thoughts on Jackson Merrill's new deal on the other side. More Gwynn and Chris.
bad news. Padres will not win today. That's because it's an off day. First of the season, Tony Gwynn Jr. and the ball club are spending it in Chicago. Tomorrow, don't forget, late morning start time. As a matter of fact, all three games in Chicago tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday will start at 11:20. So tomorrow morning, Sam Levitt will be on for a early morning pregame show, followed by the game. Randy Vasquez will try to keep the Padres rolling, and a tough customer for the Cubs tomorrow, one of the best in the league, left-hander Shildt Imanaga, and it's the Cubs home opener, and the Cubs are hot too. They just blew away the Athletics. Can't call them by a city name because they don't like that, apparently. Cubs have scored 60 runs already this year, Tony, in 9 games, so they're swinging the bats, and we'll see if Vasquez and the Padres can slow them down tomorrow. Tony mentioned Kaylin Kyle, studio host, analyst, MLS, season pass. She'll be on in the 3 o'clock hour to talk about San Diego FC. What a great start our soccer team is off to. 3 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws, and they got their first home win last week over LAFC, scored 3 goals. They've scored 10 goals this year, which is 5th most in the MLS. So, I don't think they could ask for a whole lot more to start their season off. And they've got the Seattle Sounders coming to town on Saturday night at 7:30. So we will talk about that. Also, Alden Gonzalez from ESPN is going to join us here in about 20 minutes to talk about not only the red-hot start of the Padres, but what they're facing up the freeway. The Dodgers did rally from 5 runs down last night to beat the poor Atlanta Braves, who are 0-7 now. And I saw this. No team has ever made the playoffs after an 0-7 start. So Braves will have their work cut out for them. How was the flight, Tony, to Chicago? I'm assuming that, party and loud music, streamers, balloons, that kind of celebration with a 7-0 start.
It wasn't nothing out of the ordinary.
I knew it wouldn't be.
Nothing out of the ordinary. No, it was relatively normal going up, coming up to Chicago. I got in at a decent time last night, and so I'm sure they are enjoying their day off, and but
they are getting the full day off today, as far as we know. They're not working out.
No,
okay,
no, they're not working out.
No, they're going to. Jason Hayward took them to his baseball facility, and a bunch of them went.
Yes, I'm sure some of them went out and went and supported their teammate. Checked out the facility. Jason's got a pretty sweet facility out here. He's had for a couple of years now.
Well, this team is it an overstatement to say that they get along very well, Tony? I mean, the teams that you not only played on, but you've now been a part of with the broadcasting and traveling, where would you rate the, this team's, togetherness quotient? It seems so on the field. The play that Iglesias makes yesterday, diving into the hole and throwing from his back. And I mean, you looked at Wandy Peralta, he was over there like a little leaguer, slapping high fives and congratulating him. He was so happy that he made that play. And a lot of those kinds of things just tend to make me think that this team, it's not just speak. They actually do get along well.
Yeah, I don't know that I don't think it's any different than last year. It's the same group virtually as you had last year. The core of these guys have Manny and Toddy and Bogey and Suarez. I mean, these guys have been together for a long time. Jackson in year 2, but he was also in the mix in years prior. These guys knew he was coming. I think this is Xander's 3rd season as a Padre. So these guys it may appear that they are closer because, they probably are at this point. They've been with each other for quite some time. And, I think the business allows for there to be space where there's new guys that are sprinkled in, right? But we're not talking like wholesale changes, Nick Pivetta is obviously new. They bring a guy, and that's the other thing. The guys that they are bringing in are veterans most of the time. And so veterans have the type of veterans that understand, what they're walking into and want to be a part of something like that. So it's easy when you've got a core that's been together for a while, that have already kind of made the atmosphere one in which guys want to come, and those guys who want to come, they want to be here. So they just they fit right on in. And so I think that goes to the continuity that we've been talking about since spring training.
I thought Fernando had a hilarious line yesterday. I don't know that he intended it necessarily to be hilarious, but I got a laugh out of it. And he was asked about Jackson Merrill signing his new contract or extension, 9 years, $135 million. And we can talk about how team friendly this is. We can talk about, Jackson paying back the organization that believed in him and all of the things that he has already said that are, wise beyond his years. But Fernando was asked whether or not now Jackson has to take everybody out for a big celebration, team meal, and one of those things. And Fernando said, well, we'll leave it to the guys that are really making money. And I thought, really? Okay. So Jackson's, $15 million a year doesn't quite.
That tells me something, though.
It doesn't qualify him for a big, team meal.
Tells
yet.
you nothing.
It tells me that they care about the guy. It tells me that they're not just interested in doing the rookie haze, or not even a rookie hazing, new contract hazing. It tells me that they don't need him to spend money.
By the way, that doesn't really happen in baseball. There's that only happens in like football and basketball. These guys aren't. I've never heard of a baseball dude, unless they, did something that made guys want to do this to them, which is not usually the case. That's not a normal thing in terms of making a guy spend a whole bunch of money in baseball, at least in our circles. Usually the vets are the ones that they take care of everything. But listen, I think okay, so in terms of Jackson's actual deal, I mean, yeah, you have to kind of look at it. Listen, I will say this: when my dad was playing and he signed his couple of deals, he definitely got some calls from the union for being too friendly.
That's right. Yes, you've mentioned that before.
I did see that
right.
too.
You should have taken more money, or held out for more money. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if they're still conducting business like that anymore, or they still do that type of thing. But I would imagine this is definitely the type of contract that the Padres and Jackson, or I should say the Padres are, I think will ultimately, especially if he continues playing the way that he's playing, will ultimately be getting a heck of a bargain. And the mere fact that he wanted to. Again, this was something that my dad was criticized for. Not really criticized. That's probably the wrong word, but he was, he was known for giving, the what everybody was called the hometown discount. I don't know that this is that, but certainly the type of player that Jackson is, you would think with open market he would garner a whole lot more, and he chose this. And so this gets you to a thing that we don't see very often in sports anymore in terms of the player, not necessarily going for the biggest, baddest contract out there, and going for what they're comfortable in, a place that they enjoy going to work every day. That's this is something that I grew up in a household because my dad enjoyed being where he was, and I can't help but to think of that as I look at this deal for Jackson. This is a young man that has set the world on fire, and he is choosing to be here in a place that he enjoys, that he wants to come to work. And I think for a young man this age to have that type of, I don't know,
maturity, I think.
Yeah, maturity is probably the right word. I just think it speaks volumes to the makeup. It speaks volumes of his mom and dad and the type of values he had. And that's not to knock those who feel like, you get one crack at this. I want to maximize that to the fullest. Absolutely. I'm just saying we don't see it very often in today's day and age that a player goes about it this way.
It's interesting, Tony, and we probably talk about this a little more in depth later, but on the same day that Jackson Merrill, in my mind, and he said as much, showed some loyalty to the people that believed in him and A.J. Preller and the Padres organization by signing a deal that, as everyone's going to say, is team friendly. Magoon Gwath did the exact same thing on a different level at San Diego State by taking himself out of the transfer portal and returning to San Diego State if he doesn't go to the NBA. But I believe a lot of that had to do with the fact that Magoon Gwath is grateful to Brian Dutcher and this school for believing in him and giving him the opportunity and helping him turn himself into an NBA prospect when we know that he could have got the bag elsewhere.
Well, he did enter the portal for a reason. So,
well, he wanted to see. You got to see what's out there.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. Listen, that's the other thing. And sometimes I think you hear the word, if somebody says grateful, it comes off as kind of being like this soft thing. Nah, he recognizes that maybe in Magoon's case that there weren't a lot of people who were giving him that kind of attention, and that loyalty kind of kicks in there. All of a sudden, he obviously he felt pretty close and tied to this university. So, he's back with whatever the kind of NBA parts that's kind of hanging on to it. He ultimately decided to stay. And I think those, I don't know that it should be commended. It's just, we should take notice, right? We should take notice that doesn't it's not happening as often as it used to.
I just want to clear up something. Fernando, there was context to Fernando's comments, and he wasn't talking about this year. Next year is when his real contract kicks in. So Jackson is still technically one of the lowest paid guys in the clubhouse.
That's what. So you're thinking Fernando was saying that because Jackson's not yet making the big money.
Correct.
Let me tell you this. I guarantee you, if those three go out to dinner together, just those three.
Okay.
One of the big dogs is picking it up. That's usually how it goes.
You think Manny throws down his card?
One of the big dogs is picking it up. I love
it. They could be like, hey, split it three ways. I mean, I guess that could happen
and
too. Certainly not.
Put the most expensive thing on Jackson's.
Yeah, I doubt it. They don't haze like that.
I can't imagine Manny Machado looking around the table and going, Chris, what'd you have? The macaroni and cheese?
Itemizing everything.
That seems to be a bit of a waste of time for those guys. All right. Alden Gonzalez, ESPN, you know how good he is on the air, his writing, and he's always fantastic to us on the program. Padres are 7-0. Let's hear what he and others are thinking and talking about around the world of baseball when Gwynn and Chris continues.
And now, the challenger, representing the San Diego Padres, number 20, Kyle Higashioka. Just 1 minute remaining. It's out of here. That one up into the monster seat. Another home run. And that ends the round. He ends the round with 7 home runs. And he has earned a trip to the semifinal matchup. Now the challenger in this semifinal matchup, number 20, Kyle Higashioka. No doubt about that one. That one carried on to Lansdowne. That one is gone. He now has bonus time. Just 1 Let's see what he can do. And now, the challenger in this championship round, Kyle Higashioka. That one carried out to Lansdowne. That one is gone. And he's earned 30 seconds of bonus time. Another home run. Just 1 minute remaining. That draw off the right pole. There's a home run. Seconds left. Another home run. Into the scoreboard. Make it 9 home runs. And now, the challenger, representing the San Diego Padres, number 20, Kyle Higashioka. Oh, that's a monster home run. That's a home run. He's earned 30 seconds of bonus time. That one carried on to Lansdowne. Just 1 minute remaining. 4 in a row now. It's out of here. That one up into the monster seat. Another home run. And that ends the round. He ends the round with 7 home runs. And he has earned a trip to the semifinal matchup. Now here, the challenge.
4:36 here in Chicago. 2:36 in San Diego. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scraby, my guy Alden Gonzalez will join us shortly. I don't think Alden's actually been to San Diego yet to see the Pods. I know. So my guess is he's seen a lot of LA. He hasn't had the San Diego leg yet. So he'll be able to tell us a lot about what he's seeing there. He'll probably have a lot of thoughts on what's going on down our way, considering that. And hey, man, the whole, like it's shaping up to be kind of exactly how we thought in terms of what the division is going to look like. I've seen the Diamondbacks took it to the Yankees. I think they took 2 or 3 in their series.
They're 4-2. Giants are 5-1. The top 4 teams in the division are 24-3. So it's a really good start.
It's a tough crowd to be in for sure.
Tough crowd, and the funny thing too is we were talking about this on the roundtable today. But if you look at the schedule, I'm just saying, Padres are 7-0. They got 3 games in Chicago. If they win those, they'd be 10-0. They got 3 games against the Athletics. If they win those, they would tie the major league record of 13-0 to start a season. Then they would come home, and guess who they'd have to try to break the record against? The Rockies. who always give them a hard time.
That's the Rockies World Series. Is
right. That would be the
Padres
Rockies World Series
game.
trying to beat them, but that's
The
a ways
Rockies
off.
are-
That's all. They're going to have to go 6-0 on the road trip, which is, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But my point is the Rockies are the team in the division that's terrible, but the Padres, we know, cannot overlook them ever. So
Major League Baseball is loving that the Dodgers are still in it because they did not want to promote the Padres as the only undefeated team left in the league.
Oh yeah. What gives you that impression? That did they call you and say, "Scrappy, we hope the Dodgers so that."
Oh yeah, they definitely do. They definitely do. Someone went through MLB social media and counted how many times each team was mentioned, and the Dodgers were by far and away number one. Padres were number 3, so I'll give them credit for that. But Dodgers had
who was number 2? Yankees.
It goes 68 mentions, 68 tweets for the Dodgers, then 52 for the Yankees, and then 33 for the Padres, and then 3 for the Rockies.
Right, so that clearly means they didn't want the Padres to be in this spot.
True.
They wanted it.
The only reason they're tweeting about them is because they have to. They can't just be like, "Oh, so 162-0 is still available for one team."
You know what? You're funny right now. You're instead of just paying attention to how happy we should all be, you're trying to find something that is, that is negative,
nefarious
about the Padres, where people are trying to put them down and not appreciate what they've accomplished. I'm pretty sure everybody around baseball is pretty impressed with the way the Padres have started, but at the same time, we all have to keep it in perspective. Even you, Scrape. Even you.
Yes, Scrape.
So
I'm just looking at the evidence presented in front of me, which is they love the Dodgers a lot.
Oh, stop it. Well, they are the world champs.
And the Yankees probably had like 25 of those tweets for torpedo bats.
He's unbelievable.
He's just
he
making up his own conclusions to everything. It's probably because they was torpedo bats were mentioned in there.
He's got everything figured out, Scrappy. He's got it all figured out. And that's why we gave him his own show.
I love it when the chat
6 o'clock.
I love it when the chat says something for like all day, and then I say it, and they're like, "Scrape, too far, man. Too far, man."
And now they're giving you a hard
time, man. It's like, wait, I've been reading that same comment for like the last 3 days. Too far, man. Too far.
You're going too far, man. Listen to the folks.
All right, I'm gonna call
that's
Alden.
too funny.
You're out of control, Scrape. Out of control, I say.
By the way, that was part of the stall tactic right there, and you
a little bit
on the phone.
Yeah.
No, I actually called him and he didn't answer, so that's why.
No, well, we'll be all right.
Yeah, you don't have all the information.
Alden under the bus there.
Throw old Alden under the bus, even though he's doing us a great favor.
You could have just wore that for us, for Alden right there.
I wasn't blaming Alden. I mean, our number comes up as spam sometimes on some people's phones, so
fair enough. All right, we'll hopefully have Alden on here shortly.
Yes. How about the pitching staff right now, Tony?
There we go.
How about that? Did you hear? Do you know the batting average? 166 teams are hitting. And I was mentioning this yesterday. I mentioned all of this yesterday because it was, just a love affair with the team after that win yesterday. But 63 innings pitched. The team has allowed 36 hits. Now, normally about a hit an inning is pretty good, maybe a little less than a hit an inning, but 63 innings, 36 hits, which works out to 166. Look, the bullpen finally gave up a run yesterday. And you know what I noticed about that is that the Guardians made a little rally in the 8th inning, right? They got a run in. They got first and third. There was one out. They had the tying run coming to the plate. A little momentum. Finally, the Guardians felt like maybe we're in this game a little bit. And guess who came trotting out to the mound for just a quick word with Adrian Morejon, the pitching whisperer. And then he went back into the dugout. And then the inning was over. One pitch later, double play. I don't know what Ruben Niebla does, but whatever it is, it always seems to work. And it worked again that time. So, I mean, they've got it all going.
The pitching has been phenomenal. I've loved the way that Yuki has thrown the ball out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
I feel like he's pitching with a newfound confidence. Wandy is just jacking people up with his quick pitches and quick pitch changeup. He gets you all sped up, and then he throws that changeup, and you're all trying to speed up because he's quick pitched you, and all of a sudden you're out in front of a changeup. Morejon is showing that he can pitch in many different spots. We saw him come in the fifth earlier in that first series against the Braves. We've seen him come in the eighth. We've seen him close. He's kind of been the Swiss Army knife out of the bullpen for the Padres. They've used him in a bunch of different roles already. I like the way they are put together. And in the news today that Oscar Gonzalez gets put onto the 40-man. So that means he can come up at any point as an outfielder and kind of, maybe display some of the things we saw in spring. All right. We do have our guy, Alden Gonzalez, on the line. Alden, ESPN. How are you, my friend? It's been a little bit.
I'm doing great, Tony. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing well, man. Now, listen, I know I haven't seen you in San Diego yet, so I'm going to assume you've been up in the L.A. area watching the other undefeated team in Major League Baseball.
Yes, sir.
From the vantage point of Los Angeles, kind of viewing down south to San Diego, what was there any conversation about what the Padres have gotten off to up that way in Los Angeles?
I don't know about from the players as much, but it's definitely been talked about around town.
I mean, just in the city, yeah.
No doubt. I mean, I don't think there's not a whole lot of precedent, and I know it's still early, but there's not much precedent for two teams in all of Major League Baseball, both starting out at least 7-0. I think the last time that happened was in 2003. But let alone the same division, let alone the two teams that went through a really hard-fought playoff series last fall, let alone two teams that are obviously rivals, right? And I think while a lot of people expected that the Dodgers were going to be really good, I don't know about 8-0 good, but this was maybe more expected from the Dodgers. It's been really cool to see from the Padres because, I mean, Tony, you and I have talked about this before. I thought they were the most complete team in baseball going into last October. And then they have an underwhelming offseason, and you wonder if they're going to be able to rise to that level again. And I know it's incredibly early still, but there's just been some really encouraging signs. And it lets you know that for all the hype about the Dodgers, I mean, the Padres probably aren't going anywhere.
Hope you're right. Alden Gonzalez, our guest here from ESPN. You guys at ESPN rated the Padres third in the early season power rankings. You were you wrote the little piece on the Padres. Can a week set the table like this for an entire season? How should we be couching it? I mean, people are running away with themselves. I got to tell you, Alden. I mean, they're pretty excited. And it's hard to dissuade them because, as you said, I mean, they've been hitting, they've been pitching, they've been fielding, they've been really running the bases incredible. Managing, they got the pitching and hitting coach back, the consistency, the continuity. There isn't really anything to be concerned about yet.
There really isn't. And I don't want to be a wet blanket here, but it's 1 week.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, we often lose sight of how long these seasons are. And I don't know if 1 week in late March and early April is any different from 1 week in June, July, August, when a team can go on a run like this. And again, I'm not trying to temper excitement too much because it is really cool to see, like I said, but I mean, it's 1 week. Things happen. So many things happen, good in good ways, in bad ways over the course of a year. Guys go up and down hitting wise. I mean, Luis Arias went how many days without a hit, right? I mean, he's going to hit. Other guys are going to come back down to earth. We'll see. I think the key with the Padres is going to be the guys around the superstars.
Yeah.
Because the depth for them is the question, right? So how are they supporting the likes of Manny and Tatis and Merrill and Bogarts and Arias and, in the rotation, Cease and Darvish, the guys around them, how are they doing? So far, it's looked great, but let's see if they can carry this over.
Alden Gonzalez joins us here on Gwynn and Chris and Alden. Jackson Merrill, he is locked up for the next 9 years for the Padres. What were your thoughts when you got the word of this deal and you know the years and the amount?
I mean, first off, like if you're a Padres fan, like it's so cool for you to be able to embrace a kid like Jackson Merrill, who like has all the ability, but also just seems to like really get it at 21 and seems to be like so secure in himself. I was shocked by the contract, frankly. Like the Padres bought out 5 or 6 of his free agent years. That's rare for somebody who is that talented, who plays, frankly, 2 premium positions, shortstop and center field. This is a great deal for them. It allows him to test the market again at age 32 or 33, which is fine, but it's not ideal. Players usually want to retest the market at 29, 28, 30. So for the Padres to get those years secured, those extra years in free agency, I think it's huge. But also, like, I watched some of the clips of what Jackson Merrill said at his press conference yesterday morning. It was very refreshing to like hear him talk through this. Like, he understands that he probably could have gotten more money by waiting, but he talked a lot about how he just feels home in San Diego, and he's in a place where he's comfortable, and he's going to make enough money, and he doesn't feel the need to sort of chase anything, because he feels like he's got everything right now and it's a good situation and he wants to stay there longer. Like, that's a very refreshing thing to hear. A lot of agents would scoff at that, but it's what he wanted to do and it's what felt right. And credit to him to just sort of having that acknowledgement within himself.
Alden, your cohort, Buster Olney, was on with us a little earlier this week. I think the Padres were 4-0 at the time, but he brought up something about, you know, as the season goes along, and you're right, we don't know how it's all going to play out. But one thing he likes about this Padre club, as opposed to maybe other clubs out there, is that they have proven maybe to themselves and probably to others that they don't fear the Dodgers in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, having taken them right to the end last year and having beat them a few years ago. Is this something that's going to serve them well going forward? Because you've got to believe you can beat the Dodgers in order to eventually beat them in the end.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think I'm pretty sure they love all the praise that the Dodgers are getting because it's probably fueling them. They love all the attention being elsewhere because it's probably something for them to rally around. And look, and this is not just like even a last year's thing. And you guys have been a lot more close to this than I have, but for the last like 3 years, it seemed like every time the Padres played the Dodgers, they played at a different level. Like they elevated their game. The Dodgers noticed this. Their problem over the years has at times been playing down to their competition. And that's on the negative end. But when they played the Dodgers, they were more crisp. They were more engaged. At least that's what it looked like for me and a lot of other people. They like that environment. They like trying to take down what Peter Seiler described as the dragon up the freeway, famously. I can't wait until they play for the first time this year. And I'm sure that games 4 and 5 of last year's DS left a very bitter taste in their mouth. One that has been there for the last 5 months at this point. And the way it happened for an offense like that to go on a scoreless inning streak the way it did to end the season, to me, was stunning. Because not to belabor something that's in the past, but that was an offense that I thought was immune to slumps like that because it was so contact-oriented and so versatile. And that's been sitting with them for a long time. And that could be something that pushes them this year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we're a ways away from it, but if the Padres are fortunate enough to get to that point, that will be something that will come back up again, and they're gonna have to respond to it. Out. I got to ask you, since you have been up that way, has there been anything that has surprised you from what you've seen from the Dodgers to this point?
Well, so they haven't had either Mookie Betts or Freddie Freeman or both in their lineup for 6 out of their 8 games. And they have continued to produce. But I guess we knew that because we knew that their offense was going to be deep. It surprised me how often they've come back in games. They've trailed in 6 out of 8 games. I think they've won. So obviously, they've won all of those. And Max Muncy talked about that last night. That that trait of being able to continually overcome adversity that pushed them last fall is kind of carrying over until now. Like they still embody a lot of those traits, and they've taken a lot of enthusiasm from that. Tyler Glasnow and Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Dustin May are 3 guys who were forgotten about in that rotation because everybody wants to talk about Blake Snell, Roki Sasaki. Those 3 guys look really dangerous early in the year. On the other side of that, there's concern about Roki Sasaki. I don't know how much. It's only been 2 starts, and they knew that he was going to be a work in progress. But maybe he might be a little bit more of a work in progress than they thought. And it's going to be really interesting to see what he looks like moving forward. And if it continues to look the way it did those first 2 times out, what they do with him. Do they send him to the minor leagues? The good thing about them is they have a lot of pitching depth, so they can afford to do that, especially when Tony Gonsolin gets back. But those are the main ones that stick out to me so far.
No doubt. Alden, as always, man, look forward to finally being in the same building with you at some point. Appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Take
Thanks,
care.
Alden.
Alden Gonzalez, ESPN, kind of going through his early thoughts on the Padres and some things that may have surprised him with the team up north, the Dragon up north, as our late Peter Seidler said about the Dodgers.
They drafted that we slayed once. Slayed them once.
No.
By the way, if anybody hasn't looked it up yet, I just did to make sure. June 9th. That's what we have to wait all the way for the first Padre-Dodger meeting of the year.
By the way, I hate this. I told you guys I hate. That's why I hate this schedule right here.
Yeah, June 9th.
June 9th? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I really hope Roki is pitching one of those games. Really hope. I just want to hear the boos rain down and the tears fall down his face.
He is such a likable guy, you are.
Let's get to break. Daily Gambit on the other side. Work with a quick.
Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports talk station. Home of the 7-0 Padres. 97.3 The Fan, Padre Baseball again tomorrow morning. Don't forget Sam Levitt's pregame show at 10:20. And then Padres and Cubs at 11:20. Both teams are idle today. Padres enjoying the day off in Chicago. I was hoping, Tony, I looked at the schedule. Not that you would have gone, but Bulls are not playing tonight, unfortunately. Although they are playing, and now that I think of it, they're playing tomorrow night against Portland. You got a day game. Maybe you just go represent a little bit for me.
At the United Center.
Yeah, go out to the UC and
UC.
Say hello to the Bulls for me.
I'll see what I can do, buddy.
I'm sure you will.
What I can do.
He's trying real hard too, Chris. He's trying real hard.
He sounds like he's pretty excited about it.
I'll see what I can do, my friend.
Well, I must say I'm jealous because Chicago, I think, is my favorite city other than San Diego. I always have a great feeling when I'm in Chicago, even when the weather, and I have been there, walking down Michigan Avenue where like umbrellas blow out of your hand across the street and you have to chase after them. It's so bad, but I don't care. I still love Chicago. So hope you have a great time. By the way, Scraby learned today, as did Ben Higgins, for the first time, that the Windy City is not called the Windy City because of the actual wind. No.
Yeah.
Ben
I think
Higgins,
you told this before.
Yeah, I know. I knew that. I'm not surprised that Scraby didn't know it because
that's not very nice.
Scraby.
I know a lot more.
But
I'm actually surprised Ben didn't know either.
That's what I was surprised by, that Ben Higgins did not know that it was because of blustery politicians talking all the time back in the day. That's why they call it the Windy City. Anyway.
Ben is well read. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Right. You would have thought Ben would have known that. All right. We got a big weekend.
I'm offended by that statement.
What, that you didn't know?
Yeah, I'm offended.
Why? Because
he's
offended because we didn't expect him to know.
I'm so surprised that Ben doesn't know. Scrape, you're an idiot. We're just gonna, it's already like that.
Nobody said that you're an idiot. See, that's what you was going off in your head as we were saying that we expected Ben is that, that must mean that I'm an idiot. No, it's not what we're saying.
No, I've been putting words in people's mouths.
Speak for yourself, Tony. Speak for yourself. I was saying that you're an idiot. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Should I bring up your personal pizza, Mr. Diva, over there, or should I leave that for later?
Bring it up.
Okay. We had the round table today. We get a bunch of food, and the salesperson, Rick Neal, who's great, came up to me and he goes, "Hey, look, Chris even got his own personal pizza." I'm like, wait. You ordered a bunch of food for the entire place, and Chris ordered a pizza for himself? Like, come on.
Hey, Scrape, you're the rook in this situation. The vet got the pizza, and the rook had to watch the vet get the pizza.
Oh,
I
would never make someone go out of their. I'm the guy who, when they're like,
wait, hold up. Wait. Are we
go out of their way? How did
Round Table had to go out of his way?
Round Table's already there making the pizzas.
Rick Neal had to go out of his way for you.
You're crazy,
Chris.
Scraby.
Well, it is. I will say this, Scraby. Had the pizza not been there, I would have not participated. That's what kind of a diva I am.
Okay, good. At least you admit it.
That's 100% fair. That's 100% fair.
Right. All right. Anyway, we got baseball. We're all excited about that. But don't forget the Final Four's coming up. To that end, let's do a little daily gambit and look at some of the games over the weekend.
Do you like money?
I think about money a lot.
Do you like money without doing anything?
Winning.
Do you want to make money while watching sports?
I think Washington is immortal luck.
Washington! Woohoo! If you answered yes, this is your segment. Just don't blame us when you lose.
Nothing is ever your fault.
It's your game. Take it.
Gwynn and Chris go through the top bets of the day in the Daily Gambit on 97.3 The Fan.
Daily Gambit is our daily sports betting segment here on Gwynn and Chris. Please, everybody, gamble responsibly. I've taken a heel turn on the chat, guys. Apparently, I'm not allowed to bring up Chris's pizza either. Although I did get one agreement about booing Roki Sasaki. when he comes to Petco. So thank you for that. And McKee,
you said that you hope that Roki Sasaki pitches one of those games. I think what you really hope is that he's in the minors when they come.
No.
For those games.
No, I want him to come here. I want him to get booed, and I want him to get rocked.
Face the music.
And then he'll go cry again in the dugout.
Here is the thing, though. There is the chance that he comes here, gets booed, and can still pitch well. I think that's what Chris is getting at. Like,
I know he is.
Ultimately, we'd rather him not be here.
Yeah. June 9th, 10th, and 11th.
I want that boo moment, though. It'll happen.
I gotta believe that those games are probably either already sold out or real close to it.
Sure.
I mean, if you want to go see the Dodgers June 9th, 10th, 11th, you better get on Padres.com like right now.
Are those weekend games too?
I don't think so.
I'm looking.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. June 9th, 10th, 11th. All right. I think one thing's clear. We're going into the Final Four, and we got the 4 number 1 seeds from each of the regions. Only the second time ever. One thing's pretty clear to me, Tony. The odds makers expect Duke to win the championship. Right? There's just no two ways about it. Not only are they favored by 5.5 over Houston in the semifinal, but they've already got the odds for Monday night's final. And if Duke plays Florida, they'd be favored by 4.5. If Duke plays Auburn, they'd be favored by 5.5. So no matter what, Duke is the heavy thought of everybody to win it all. And I think it's a little interesting. The one thing that Duke did not do that Florida and Auburn did is play the schedule that those guys did all season long. And it's going to be interesting to see Duke up against a Florida or an Auburn if that happens.
Maybe that's why I have Duke as the third best team out of these 4.
Really?
Honestly.
Yeah, they have.
I mean, I love Cooper Flagg. I think that Auburn and Florida are better teams than Duke is, but Duke has played extremely well.
Yes, they have. And here's the other thing that will then surprise you. If Houston wins over Duke and if Auburn wins over Florida, which would both be mild upsets, Houston would actually be favored by 1 point over Auburn in the final.
I can see that.
So the odds makers are actually saying the worst of the 4 teams is Auburn, which is the number 1 team all year long in NCAA basketball. I'm going to say one thing about Houston before people dismiss them, and we'll talk a little bit more tomorrow because games are Saturday. That Houston team reminds me a lot of the Aztecs 2 years ago. Just real veteran team that plays great defense, offensive rebounds like crazy. They don't seem to have the eye candy ability of Duke, Florida, and Auburn, but they do all of the things around the margins really, really well. And they defend. They're in your face. So it wouldn't shock me even if Houston beat Duke, but that's a little preview of the men's Final Four. As far as a couple of games we can take a look at tonight, we'll start with baseball. The Diamondbacks 4-2 finish up their series in the Bronx against the Yankees this evening. Arizona's won 2 of 3 in the series so far. Last night, by the way, Tony, your guy, the milkman, was dealing for the D-backs.
I saw that he had an 84% whiff rate with his curveball.
They weren't hitting anything last night. Yes, they were swinging and missing all night. And I guess
84%.
Right. The milkman has owned the Yankees. 27 scoreless innings in his career against the Yankees. And I will also admit, this is a Scraby type admission.
I don't like this preface.
I never understood why Zach Gallen was called the milkman. It made no sense to me till I realized his last name is Gallen. Milk.
I mean, duh.
But I didn't come up with it till just recently.
But
thank you.
By the way.
Thank you. I'm glad I figured it out.
Jesse has literally explained this.
Oh, has
I don't
he?
know. Every single time he's pitched.
Well, I wasn't paying attention, which is not a shocker.
He was like, "What? Why are they calling Zach Gallen the milkman?"
I didn't get it. I thought this was it's a fun nickname, but it made no sense to me. So, Yankees tonight are pitching Carlos Carrasco, Diamondbacks Merrill Kelly, Yankees by a 1.5. Scrape.
Wookie.
I knew that was it.
Yeah.
Diamondbacks by 1.5 or Yankees. I'm sorry.
Yankees by 1.5 runs. Who do you like?
It's hard to be swept at home, so I'm going to go with
the Yankees won the first. It's 4-game series.
All right. Well, I should have known that before I opened my mouth.
Try again, buddy.
In that case, I will say it's hard to lose 3 games in a series. I'm going to go with the Yankees.
All right, Yankees for you. Tony, who you like here?
Give me the Snakes.
Snakes again, yeah. NL West power.
Snakes.
NL West power, 24-3.
Please clip that. Please clip that.
Okay, fine.
I need to hear that like later in the show, please.
Okay, all right. I wrote it down.
Did you take care of that?
Snakes.
Very good.
I wrote it down.
Because of that, I'll have to take them, the Snakes as well.
Snakes.
Brewers play the Reds tonight in Milwaukee. By the way, congrats to the Brewers. Scraby thought this was idiotic yesterday. Tony, will you please set him straight?
Wait. Why am I getting lumped in with so many things today?
It's just something that I thought about. But the Brewers won the game yesterday on a walk-off squeeze bunt. Scraby thought that was like a very unmanly thing to do.
This is not true. I did not say that.
Go back to the tape. You totally said that.
It's not true. I did not say that. It's unmanly.
Yes, that's what you said.
Chat.
You thought it was you thought it was just a really wimpy way to win a game, and I was like, there are no such things.
I don't remember saying that whatsoever.
Yeah, chat will help you out there. The chat
Chat
will help you find
us.
your memory, Scraby.
It usually does.
Nestor Cortez. Go ahead, Tony. Your thoughts on it? The squeeze. I love it.
I think that's money. I mean,
yes, great baseball.
If you can pull off and execute it, that's a beautiful way to go off.
You know how hard it is to do it also with a left-handed hitter at the plate because
for sure
the runner's sliding right into the catcher with nobody in the way. So good job by the Brewers. Tonight, Nestor Cortez pitches for the Brewers. He was rocked. I mean, badly by the Yankees in his first outing. I think he had about 5 home runs.
I feel like Nestor is kind of the blame for the conversation.
The torpedo bat. Right. He started the whole torpedo problem. I think he gave up home runs on his first 3 pitches of the game. So tonight he'll try it again. Over under 4.5 strikeouts. Tony, you're first for Nestor Cortez.
They're in Cincinnati.
No, in Milwaukee tonight.
Oh yeah, he gets a pitch in the home.
He'll be home.
I'm gonna say under.
Under anyway. The Reds have not been good. Nestor's not going to be happy. I'll take a shot. I'll say he has a good game. Over. Scrape.
Well, they better win or else people are going to start urinating on the concourses again like they did the other day. Did you see that video, Tony?
Wait, what?
There was a fan who got really drunk, I'm assuming, and then just started urinating all over the concourse. Like,
I don't know what's worse. The guy doing that or the guy taking the video and not doing anything to stop him from doing that.
Well, there's always a guy like that.
Yeah.
And wait, is this in Milwaukee?
It's in Milwaukee. I think it happened on Monday, and this guy is just doing his business all over the concourse. And people are just walking by.
Like walking and pissing, or he's just pissing?
Well,
no,
we
standing.
can't say that.
Standing still.
Oh, sorry.
I just dumped it. It's okay.
Oh, he couldn't say that word?
It's a verb.
Oh, right.
Can't verb it.
Oh,
that's all right. Scraby said a bad word on the air.
I
the
did,
other day
and I didn't even know.
I had to tell him to dump himself.
I didn't even know.
Yes, I heard. I heard.
All right, here's a big NBA game tonight for you, Tony. Lakers home to the Warriors. A lot of playoff implications here. Lakers are only favored by 1 point at home tonight. I'm sure you'll take the Lakers, Tony.
You best believe it. After the Nuggets took a tough loss last night, I will definitely be taking my Lakers. I would take them anyway, but yes, we
Lakers need a win. The Lakers have done it. I will say this. Since the Bulls I don't want to say debacle, but the heartbreak.
It was a debacle. No, it was a debacle.
Okay, but the heartbreak of losing that game. JJ Redick said, we are going to be tough and bounce right back. And that's what they've done, right? They've won 3 in a row since that game. So I'll stay with the Lakers tonight, only giving 1 point at home. Scraby?
Warriors.
Who scores more points, Curry or LBJ tonight? I think I'm first. With all due respect, Curry's just on fire right now. He had 52 the other night, hit 12 threes. These are 2 of the most amazing athletes, by the way. Curry's now 36 years old, Tony.
Yeah, he's old.
Getting it done. LeBron's 40. I'll take Curry. Scraby?
Curry.
Tony?
LeBron James.
One more tonight, the NIT final.
Oh, yeah.
I know people are excited about it. UC Irvine is favored by 3.5.
Wait, they won that game yesterday?
They won yesterday.
They were down by a lot.
Well, they ended up winning. So they're in the finals against UT Chattanooga. Irvine favored by 3.5. Tony. Going with the Eats.
Going with the West Coast.
West Coast. And the Anteaters. It's the Anteaters and the Moccasins, Scraby. Who do you like?
Oh, man. This is one of the greatest.
Moccasins.
This is one of the greatest
Chattanooga's the
nicknames
Moccasins.
ever.
Wow.
Nickname battles. The Anteaters or the Moccasins?
Who do you like, Scraby?
I'm going to go Eaters.
I'm going to have to go Eaters as well. Or just call them the Eats.
The Eats.
Yes.
Oh,
all right, we're a little late for the break. Let's check traffic. We got soccer talk next with Kaylin Kyle of MLS Season Pass. Don't go anywhere.
5:21 on the clock here in Chicago, 3:21 in San Diego. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scraby, and talking some soccer, some football, if you will. Kaylin Kyle will join us next. Excuse me, had a little hiccup there. Kaylin Kyle. No room service. No room service. Kaylin Kyle, studio host and analyst for MLS Season Pass, will join us now. Actually, Kaylin, welcome to the show. Thank you for your time today.
So much for having me. It's taken you guys long enough. You made me wait 6 match days. I'm gonna let it go. Considering how well your team is doing, it's phenomenal, and you guys should be so excited over in San Diego.
We certainly are, Kaylin, and let's talk about SDFC. They have really come out the gates well to get their first home win against LAFC, and they seem to be playing at a really early stage the brand of soccer that has suited them well. What have been your thoughts, especially this last home win?
I think it suited everyone. I love their style of play. It's that tiki-taka style football. They are possession-based team, so it doesn't get any better than that. And I was really interested to see how the game was going to go when they took on LAFC this past weekend. It couldn't be two polar opposite teams and how they play. LAFC love to play in transitional moments, and I was interested to see. And then it was 3-0 after 40 minutes, and I was like, what is going on in San Diego? Valakari, Maitin, Dreyer, all three of them have done fantastic, and that's without one of your first signings for San Diego, your first designated player with Chucky Lozano, obviously been out with injury. You saw him come off the bench. So it's for Mikey Vares, it's going to be a big question mark. So what do you do when Chucky Lozano is, 90-minute match performance? Do you put him in the 11 that's working right now? That's a great problem for a manager to have. And I really think, you look at your team, the only loss you had on the season was without Godoy in the midfield. And I think that proved just how important of a player he is in the midfield. And just how he's dictating the tempo defensively, offensively. It's been amazing to see. And Mikey Vares, just a short amount of time that he's taken over this team and coming into San Diego with a new team, an expansion club, new players. You have to, implement a system. You have to implement a structure. You have to implement playing philosophies defensively, offensively. And he's done that in such a short amount of time. And it's honestly one of the most enjoyable teams for me to watch here in Major League Soccer.
Kaylin, we had Mikey on before the season started, and I kind of jokingly asked him, as an expansion team, can we just, let's just go ahead and win the cup right away? And he said he tried to push the brakes on that a little bit, said, hey, it's not going to be easy, but he also said we weren't going to back down. I mean, he was expecting to compete and, not set any limits on what San Diego could do in their first season. But how surprised should we be that an expansion team is sitting, right now in third place in the entire Western Conference?
Well, I think if you go back and you look at St. Louis when they joined the league under Bradley Carnell, they won the West. So I don't think it's a shock anymore, because I think, ownership, GMs that come into Major League Soccer, they now kind of can base it off of, okay, expansion teams can do well if you have the 3 X's. You got to get your DPs right. You got to get your center of the pitch right. I always call it the spine of the team. So your goalkeeper, your center back, a midfielder, and a striker. And I think that you guys have shown that already early on the season. You bring in Christopher McVeigh, and I worked for Inter Miami for 3 seasons, and I was actually shocked that he wasn't a consistent out-and-out kind of starter there, because I think his attributes in Major League Soccer are great for a defender. He's quick, he's fast, he reads the game well, he's good at playing with the ball out of the back. And we've seen that already through 6 match days in Major League Soccer. So I will say anything can happen in Major League Soccer. It's the wild, wild west, genuinely, over in the West right now. I don't think anyone would have Vancouver, Austin, and you guys in the top 3 spots. If you looked at our preseason predictions, I got to be honest, I had you in last, because I didn't know what to expect. There wasn't, those big name stars other than a Chucky Lozano. And I was like, can he do it in Major League Soccer? Obviously, we haven't been fortunate enough to see it yet. Due to the injury. So I'm excited to see him back fit and healthy, but I love it. And then to do it against LAFC, you talk about California with, San Jose, Galaxy, LAFC, and now you guys. It's going to be so exciting. And I think it's going to be really exciting moving forward because Galaxy is not the team that we saw last year. LAFC is in like a weird phase. They're very inconsistent. We saw last night they then beat the best team in Major League Soccer of Inter Miami in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but we've not seen that this season so far. So I think for you guys right now, an all-around team, you're the best team in California, and it's such a pleasure to be able to watch you guys week in and week out so far.
As the folks who are still learning about the MLS season, it does speak volumes that they've been able to beat the two LA teams, because something certain that certainly all San Diegans can get behind is beating the two LA teams. So they've definitely taken care of that. Kaylin Kyle joins us, studio host and analyst for MLS Season Pass. And Kelly, you mentioned the top three that are at the table right now, at the top of the table, weren't teams that certainly people predicted would be there. The Austin FC team is the only team that has been able to beat SDFC. They seem to play completely different styles. Just for some of us who are still learning the game, it seems like Austin FC plays much more of a defensive style of brand. Was that something that gave SDFC a little trouble in their matchup?
I think you were missing a lot of key players due to that tricky international break. I speak about Godoy. I don't think you had a midfielder in there that could really dictate the tempo, and you need someone like that when you do go up against a team that is a defense-first mindset, catch teams on the counter. You saw that against LAFC in that first 45 minutes, that you guys were able to really manipulate the game and take control because you had a midfielder that was able to slow the game down when he needed to, speed the game up when he needed to, and pick his moments of when to play forward or when to just play side to side. So I think he's a huge key factor of why you guys have had early on success. I know that there's a lot of players in a lot of important roles, and we've seen that, but it looks like a completely different team without Godoy in the middle of the pitch. And then Andres Dreyer, we had him on our MLS countdown, and for someone that's never traveled to America, who's never set foot in San Diego, to then choose to come to Major League Soccer, he was so poised on the interview. He was so well-spoken. He was so confident. Like, that to me is like a captain within your squad that it's been a pleasant surprise for everyone in Major League Soccer, in front of the cameras and behind, because it's hard to get international players right. Sometimes they hit and sometimes they don't. And he's hit not only for you guys in San Diego, but he's hit for us in Major League Soccer, because the storylines he brings and just the type of player that he is. He's put San Diego on his back and has elevated not only the new expansion club, but also just Major League Soccer in general.
We got Kaylin Kyle with us, studio host, analyst, MLS Season Pass. You are a native. I don't know if people can catch it in your voice, but Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I'm waiting for you to say against because
oh my God. Against. I do say Vegas really weird. Vegas, bagel, and bag. Everyone always says, but I don't think I ever said a boot before. So.
Not a boot.
Yeah. No, I'm like, do Canadians actually really say that? I'm like, I don't. I mean, my family doesn't. So.
I think they do, because I did many years with the hockey team here in San Diego.
Okay.
A lot of Canadian
The hockey
kids,
culture is a different breed. They're wild.
That's what I was going to ask you. How did you get into soccer, and what is soccer like in Canada? And number one, number two, have you had a chance to come out here and see what the vibe is like in San Diego? Because I think, if you like this team, you're going to love the vibe. The home fans have been incredible here so far.
I will say I've had some of the best Mexican food in San Diego. It's a place called Lolita's. And if you haven't eaten there, if you're tuning in, they do the most amazing burrito, but then like put fries in it. It like blows my socks off every time I go there. It's called Lolita's. Write it down.
That is called the California burrito.
That is.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. The California burrito. It was mind blowing, and it's like fresh salsa. It was so good. I haven't been able to check a game out. Obviously, I have some friends that play for the San Diego Wave team and just speak so highly of, the fan support on the women's side. So it's definitely a spot that I need Major League Soccer to send me to. So you guys need to help me with that. Just tag everyone at Major League Soccer. Say send Kaylin. We need her pitch side for one of the games. But I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked when you go to California. It's very soccer specific. It's different of how I grew up in Canada. My dad was a professional ice hockey player, so I grew up at rinks. Wayne Gretzky was my idol. Mario Lemieux was my idol. I didn't have soccer players as idols until Christine Sinclair came on came on my TV for the first time. So it was very different growing up in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And I tried ice hockey. I just can't stop the greatest. So like the boards were my best friend. So soccer just ended up working for me and I loved it. And I kind of just never looked back from there. And 2 World Cups and the Olympic bronze later, I decided to retire. And yeah, obviously I'm delighted to still be in the game and with Major League Soccer and just to see the growth with it, especially with 2026 World Cup just around the corner.
No doubt, Kaylin, we certainly appreciate you coming on and dropping some of your knowledge on us as we continue to get more familiar with SDFC. We look forward to doing it again. Thanks for coming on.
No, thank you so much for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Do not wait another 6 matches, Kaylin.
I won't. Next time it'll be in person, guys.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Indeed.
All right, sounds good. Take care.
Kaylin Kyle joins us there, San Diego studio host and analyst for MLS Season Pass. Just kind of going through the league and SDFC and the success they've had to this point. It's been off to a pretty terrific start. Got the first win against LAFC.
I gotta say, every person we've had on from the MLS Season Pass has been awesome.
I've been excited every time I talk to these guys.
Delightful.
Delightful is a great word for that. Indubitably delightful. I don't even know if that makes sense, but it should.
It doesn't. She's talked about having some friends on the Wave. She was a teammate and was once traded along with Alex Morgan
to the Pride
when she played in the NWSL. So I'm sure she does know a lot of those young ladies well, and hopefully we'll get a chance to have her come out to San Diego and see the SDFC. By the way, SDFC does play at home this Saturday night. So if you haven't seen a match yet, you owe it to yourself, and you're going to love it. Scraby and I were out for one earlier this season, and it's a good time. And you got just the whole atmosphere. It's worth it to come out and just see what it's like.
All right, we got to go 3:33 on the clock. We got to get to break. More Gwynn and Chris on the other side.
Not me this time.
Ben and Woods on the Fan.
Coming up on a Friar Friday, we'll get you.
studio host and a good Canadian host and analyst for MLS Season Pass. We didn't have time to tell her, but Lolita's is only the beginning of the amazing Mexican food in San Diego. So she's just kind of starting out her Mexican food experience around here. Huh?
That's just scraping the surface.
That's right. Yes, exactly. She's got a lot more good stuff awaiting her. And I mentioned SDFC at home Saturday night, Seattle Sounders at 7:30. If you've not yet seen a match, I think this would be a pretty good time to do it. And Chucky Lozano is expected back from injury in this match Saturday night. So we're not going to forget about our soccer team, despite the fact the Padres are taking all the headlines right now at 7-0. Scraby has some more fun headlines now, and we call it the 30-mile zone. So let's check into that after traffic.
From the 855 Get Ross Traffic Center, protecting San Diego after accidents or injury, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is brought to you by your local San Diego County UPS stores. Starting to heat up on our roads a bit, especially on southbound 5 now. We got this crash right before Cesar Chavez Parkway. Those vehicles are over to the right shoulder, then up ahead before 8th Street. Reports of a 2-vehicle accident in the center divide. Also, watch out for a stalled vehicle on southbound 15 right at the King Freeway connector ramp. That appears to be over to the right shoulder. Your local San Diego County UPS store locations are hosting a shred event from April 7th through April 15th. 50% off shredding services. Visit theupsstore.com for the location nearest you. See store for details. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3.
If you don't know your sports gossip, can you really call yourself a sports fan? It's time to bring together sports and celebrity gossip. We call it the 30-mile zone, mainly so we don't get sued by the real company. On 97.3 The Fan.
All right. We're going to have some bad stories today, guys. Some sad stories. I'm just going to prepare everyone because that is what is on the docket today. But we're going to start with some funnish ones first.
Okay.
This is a really fun one. A-Rod and Mark Lowry are full owners of the Timberwolves now. It finally went through, so there you go. The deal was finalized yesterday, and they put up $1.5 billion for the T-Wolves and the Lynx all the way back in 2021. So this all finally got figured out, and A-Rod is now an NBA and WNBA owner. It's kind of random to have him in Minnesota.
Who was the original? Who'd they buy it from?
What was his name? Glenn Taylor.
Glenn Taylor, yes,
yeah.
correct.
Glenn, I know that Kevin Garnett cannot stand Glenn Taylor at all, and it sounded like he tried to back out of the deal when he realized the T-Wolves were actually going to be pretty good, and it turns out that he had to give it up when it was all said and done. So.
A-Rod is living out a dream that I would have if I was a professional athlete and made that kind of, the money that these guys are able to make.
If you were an owner, are you sitting courtside?
Yes, I would be a courtside owner.
Sure.
I don't think I'd want to sit way up there. I'm not comfortable in those suites anyway.
Don't you think that makes the players a little bit like,
no.
If Adam came in here and watched our show, it would make us like a little nervous.
Totally different. I think the Dallas Mavericks really all liked Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban was the ultimate fan, right? He was out there screaming at referees and getting technical fouls. I love that. No, I think I'd want to be down there if I, ever had. I'm never going to be in this situation, of course. So I say A-Rod's living out our dream. I think it's fun for him, and he's a great competitor. I've seen him on the sidelines at Minnesota playoff games the last couple of years. So good for him.
All right.
Them. Although it cost a ton of money, wasn't it? Was it like $3 billion or something? I mean, I don't get it.
I don't know if
$1.5
$1.5 billion, but it's
$1.5.
definitely up there.
Okay, so yeah, it's in the B's.
If you were listening, you would have heard me say that, but
I did.
All right. If you love Mediterranean food, try Spiro's for authentic Mediterranean cuisine in Coronado or La Jolla. For dining or takeout options, visit spiroscuisine.com. Now, Shohei Ohtani's bobblehead yesterday, of course, MLB
bobblehead.
Of course, that Major League Baseball fixed it, so he hit a walk-off home run on his bobblehead night.
Of course.
But did you guys see how many people were waiting outside the stadium for this bobblehead? They were lining up 5, 6, 7 hours in advance of this bobblehead.
this isn't anything new. Didn't they give like a gold bobblehead or something away last year? And
they did something.
The line was ridiculous. Like they showed like a drone flying over there, and it was just like it's like ridiculous. I don't get it.
Now I do think this is very cool, and I'm not sure if the Padres do it because I haven't heard it, but they have put, like you said, they put. Some of them had a silver bat in there, and some had an MVP plaque in there. So if you got that lucky one, it was a rare collectible, and people have already put it up online and are trying to get a bunch of money for it. The highest one going with the MVP plaque, $900
already.
Oh, I guess it's a silver bat and MVP plaque. I'm sorry, but
right,
$900.
Yeah, there's some that have that. I think that's a great idea. Like, for instance, the Padres did the Jackson Merrill thing the other night, which I think everybody wanted to get one of those, especially, on the eve of what Jackson is about to, embark on now for the next 10 years and get his first Padre bobblehead. But what a good idea to, like, have silver bats instead of the regular bat to make it more of a collectible. I think it's kind of an interesting idea.
Have like one of Jackson's with like him holding the contract, like
something like that. Yeah. But I mean, $900 already for these bobbleheads. I know when this is the way it goes now. I was on my way to the car the other night, and there was people asking for my bobblehead. They wanted to pay for it like $20, and I'm like, no.
Did you say 35?
No.
Okay.
Jackson Merrill's priceless. Scrape.
I said, get out of here.
Yeah.
I guess I caused somewhat of a kerfuffle by taking the Jackson Merrill bobblehead out of studio, but I did ask Adam last Friday when he brought it in here,
unbelievable.
Can I take this one home? And he said, yeah.
Unbelievable. He walks up when I'm showing the bobblehead, the Jackson Merrill, and he goes, is this taken? I go, I'm not going to take it. He goes, good, I got it. Scrappy packed it up and off he went.
I have a pretty good bobblehead collection going on right now. I have to bring something up. Tony might know about this, but MLB The Show, why can they not get Jake Cronenworth's face right in that game? They have not figured out how to put his face on the player. I don't get it. Everybody else kind of looks like themselves, but Jake Cronenworth never looks like himself.
Yeah, I haven't quite been able to see his face yet. I just cracked the game open today.
Okay.
Like I've had it loaded up on my Xbox for a while. I just wanted to finish some more steps in my dynasty on the college side. So I just now got into it. Just now really cracking it open. And,
I want to thank both of you guys for taking time out of your busy days to do a radio show every day. I know you've got a lot of
You're very welcome, Chris.
Yeah,
thank
you guys for providing a couple of hours of your time in between games.
If I actually made money, I would probably be at home playing video games all day, every day, because I love it so much. I love it so much. All right, here's another story. Baltimore, the city of Baltimore, suing DraftKings FanDuel alleging misleading tactics. Now, the complaint was filed in Baltimore City Circuit Court and alleges that companies use misleading promotions to attract bettors and then leverage data and analytics to keep problem gamblers betting. Practices, it says, are in violation of the city's Consumer Protection Ordinance. Now, here's the interesting part of this. In the state of Maryland, you have to opt into saying you have to opt into something saying you won't be a part of a class action lawsuit against the company. The city itself can actually sue these companies because it's not a class action lawsuit, and so they're suing for I don't exactly know if they're trying to get money or anything, but I'm glad that someone is trying to make it known that these companies are doing misleading things to make people bet more. And I appreciate Baltimore for this.
I just know that if they brought this into my courtroom and they said we would like to try to prove that DraftKings is taking advantage of young people and trying to get them to lose their money, etc., I would just say I don't need to see any testimony at all. You win, because I'm sure of it. I'm sure, and I'm not just DraftKings, FanDuel, MGM, Bet, whatever it is. They're all trying to take advantage of people that don't know how to control their money, and those are the people they go after. Those
are the ones where they send emails like, "Hey, we're going to give you $100 right now," and then you get sucked in even more.
That's right. They know the people that can't control the betting, and those are the ones that they target to get more and more gambling and betting. So I honestly would like to see, this, DraftKings take a loss here to maybe, send a message to the rest of these gambling websites, honestly. So,
Tony, you got anything on this?
I mean, Chris kind of hit it on the head there. I think I have very little doubt that they're using tactics that are deceiving.
For sure.
And I mean, I think that's kind of all of the folks who are, not promoting, but, using advertising to get people to come gamble.
Yep.
Here's one part of the article that saying Flutter owns FanDuel. Flutter Entertainment is the parent company for FanDuel, and they have collected, quote, at least 186 attributes for each bettor, including their propensity to gamble and susceptibility to marketing. Uh-oh. That's me. I'm susceptible to marketing.
It was speaking to you, huh?
It was like, oh man, if they gave me a dog that said, let's bet, I would be all about it. But yeah, I like it. But this is dirty. This is dirty to try to form profiles on people to get them to gamble a little bit more.
Yeah, believe it.
All right, here's some sad stuff. Brett Gardner.
All right, you guys keep going. Like somebody's knocking at my door.
That is very strange.
I don't feel
strange. I'm going to put Tony's mic down.
We had some food like I got a couple weeks ago.
Brett Gardner's son, former Yankee, former Major League Baseball player, his son died a few weeks ago, tragically.
Yeah.
He was 14 years old, and they weren't really sure. This was in Costa Rica. They weren't really sure if what happened here, but I guess the toxicology results showed that he had carbon monoxide poisoning, and that's why his son passed away. So very sad, right?
I'm not familiar with how that works or happens, and maybe I don't need to know.
Carbon monoxide?
Yeah, I mean, how does that happen?
I think it
to
just
somebody?
Kind of suffocates you.
No, but how does that? How do you get
leaks?
exposed to it?
I mean, cars.
Like
anything that has exhaust can
really.
Can
so
do
you're
it.
walking down the street and somebody's car exhaust.
But you would have to be engulfed in it. I mean,
well, I mean, I
don't want to
know.
give people.
I don't either.
ideas
But this is such a sad story. Obviously,
it is a very, very, very sad story. So yeah, his 14-year-old son passes away.
This was extremely sad when it happened, and I'm sure for the Gardners, it was probably outside of losing a child. Not knowing what happened was probably pretty tough.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I don't
at
know
least
that
they can at least get a little bit of peace here, knowing what happened. But
yeah,
it's never gonna make it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the worst things that can happen in your world is to have to outlive your children
in a different country
in a situation like this. Yes.
All right. I guess another sad story. An Atlanta Hawks fan was injured during an in-game challenge. You know how they make you do those things where you have to like run down the court, do a layup and everything. Well, this guy did it, and then he slipped and he completely blew his knee out, and he had to be stretchered off the court. I'm not even going to show the video.
Do we know that he blew his knee? I mean, I know he was holding his knee and had to be stretched up. Do we know what he tore? Did they give us a report
ACL
on that?
injury is what I've been reading. And he falls and he immediately grabs his knee like
Juju Watkins.
Yeah, like Juju Watkins, like immediately grabs the same areas of the knee. And
how much have the Atlanta Hawks been sued for?
That hasn't
I was
been...
about to say it's coming.
Yes.
My man slipped on the floor like they didn't wipe it down at that point.
No. Yes. The Atlanta Hawks.
That is true.
The Atlanta Hawks may be going out of business after this is over.
he definitely for the suit.
Oh, I have a little bit of information on Brett Gardner. Emma Key says their room was next to a machine room. It was putting out the CO2 they suspect.
Oh, man.
That is brutal.
Yeah, that is. Oh, man.
So you think
that's probably, it made me think of Lori asking for a different room. There's good reasons to be asking for different rooms at times.
Get the presidential suite.
You may seem like you're being a squeaky wheel, but in that case, being next to that, I mean, I'm going to think about that now every time I go
to a hotel.
A hotel.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if you can even detect carbon monoxide on your own.
There are monitors.
Yeah.
detectors that you can have. I know we have a few at our house.
You have one that you're going to carry with you now, Tony?
No. It's definitely, I don't know that you can carry that.
Did you guys see Dylan Brooks real quick? 16th technical of the year. He kicked a guy right in the face.
What?
I don't know why do you even have to have this guy in the league?
Dylan the villain?
Dylan the villain. He went up for a jump shot and he kicked his leg out and kicked the guy right in the face.
As bad as Dylan is, he's not even close to Isaiah Stewart.
No, the Detroit guy. Pistons. Yes, these two guys are running rampant.
He's not even.
They're going nuts in the NBA. These two guys.
You can't kick someone in the face. It's just not something you can do.
Can't do it.
He did it. All right, we'll take a break. Good 30-mile zone. Not as sad as I thought, but
I left out another story that was very sad about a high school kid who got stabbed by.
You could have just left it out, buddy. You could have left it out.
We almost got through without that. Thank you, Scraby.
I just wanted Chris to know.
I already knew. And here we go to Chris versus the fans. 833-288-0973.
to the 6 o'clock hour here in Chicago. Or excuse me, 6 o'clock hour in Chicago, 4 o'clock here in San Diego. Gwynn and Chris, Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scraby, little Chris versus the fans headed your way here shortly. How has the game been going, gentlemen?
Chris versus the fans. I think I've been doing well.
Yeah,
maybe a little too well lately.
Yeah.
So a little too well.
Scraby's upset.
Yeah.
Listeners are, upset, but what can I tell you? You gotta take your shot, and we will have another round of it here. I did have a quick note. Did you see this is a fun one for Jesse Agler to not luckily have to deal with, Tony, also, and yourself. The Seattle Mariners yesterday beat the Tigers 3-2. Winning pitcher was right-hander Luis Castillo, the all-star right-hander. Friday, the Mariners are playing again after a day off today, and they're taking on, I believe, the Giants Friday. Starting pitcher Luis Castillo. Not the same Luis Castillo. The Mariners have two guys with the exact same name, Tony. How do you like this? They've just signed a new Luis Castillo.
They added one.
To the one that they already had. Apparently, the Mariners also have a young catcher in the minors named Julio Rodriguez. The same name as their star center fielder.
This is going to get confusing.
It's going to get very confusing if you're the Mariners broadcast team.
I guess they figured if they have they had so much success with the first one, they try the same name again, look for the same result.
Maybe they can get lucky. Maybe they can get lucky. Maybe Scraby will get lucky and stump me today on Chris versus the fans. Let's go.
If you had one shot, one opportunity to take down the human almanac himself,
howdy do.
Now is your time.
Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
Now is your opportunity to win a prize.
Well, I hope you know what you're in for.
Chris versus the fans starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Tony, this is really off topic, but can you please send me your flight information for when you fly from Chicago to Sacramento so I can track your flight? Thank you very much. I do that with Chris.
Don't you find this weird?
He complained
Tony?
yesterday about it.
I will not be doing such a thing.
Good.
I don't want you stalking my flight.
No kidding. Okay. I don't like when he does it to me either.
I'll just have to look up the route and find the plane and find everything. So
you do that. You go ahead and do.
If you have to do something that wacky, you're going to have to be left to your own devices.
Well, Chris was very offended that I did this the other day.
I feel self-conscious sitting aboard the plane that you're watching where it's going.
I'm going to send Chris a picture next time with me just staring at the map.
You're weird. But we already
all right. If you win today, you'll be qualified for our grand prize, 2 sold-out tickets to the When We Were Young Festival in Las Vegas on October 18th, featuring Blink-182, Panic at the Disco, The Offspring, and more. Tickets for day 2 on sale now at whenwewereyoungfestival.com. The rules: you have to make it through 3 questions. Each question will get more difficult. If you get the question right, you move on. If you get the question wrong and Chris gets it right, you're eliminated. But if Chris gets it wrong, then you move on to the next question or you win. If you're a first-time player, please let us know.
Too long.
It's okay. Please let us know before you get into the first question. You'll get that question for free today. All right, let's get our first contestant today. And I'm going to go with a long time Scrabinator and Gwynn and Chriser. Bernice is with us here.
Hey, Bernice.
Oh my God, how you guys? It's been like a minute since I talked to you, huh?
I know. It's been a while, Bernice.
It has been a while.
I know.
Right.
I miss talking to you guys.
Well, you should call more.
I try.
Or Scraby can let you in more. He likes to block people.
I would never block Bernice, ever.
All right, Bernice, let's get to the first question here.
Okay.
Which Padre player got a 9-year extension yesterday?
Jackson Merrill.
Hey, Bernice is on the board.
There we go.
Merrill.
Very good.
Question number 2.
Bernice has great energy.
Oh, yeah.
Which player was the first to take the walk of shame in Sacramento? The walk of shame being the walk to the outfield. No, it's really the walk through the outfield to use the restroom.
Oh, shoot.
Thank you for saying that word.
Yeah, it's very good, Bernice.
Yeah. I knew I was going to be rusty at this today, you guys. It's been a while. Oh, my God. In Sacramento? I don't even know who they were playing.
You can do. You can say you don't know because Chris
may not know
either. But I think he does know.
I have a guess. I thought it was Seiya Suzuki of the Cubs, but I could be wrong.
Chris, how dare you eliminate Bernice? I'm sorry, Bernice.
She wouldn't
really
respect
sorry.
me if I, didn't try my hardest.
Thank you for calling.
Thanks, Bernice.
We'll
Always good to talk
Thank
to
you,
you. We'll see you
Bernice.
soon.
All right. Now we move on to our next contestant, Deborah. Hello, Deborah.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi.
Hello.
First time player.
First time player.
Love it.
Okay, we got to get it together, guys. That wasn't very good.
Way off
I don't know
base
what's
there.
going on. There we go. Let's go. Question number 2. Which pitcher retired this week after 13 MLB seasons?
Tough one.
Steve, I think he plays for the Dodgers. Kershaw?
Clayton Kershaw.
Stay there, Deborah.
Ah, man. Now what do you? How much are you going to yell at me if I get this one right?
A lot.
Sorry, Deborah. He did play for the Dodgers. Lance Lynn retired. Sorry, Deborah.
Lance Lynn.
It's in my it's in
Deborah.
my soul. I have to answer correctly if I do know the answer.
I mean, remember how much you hurt
Yes,
that guy's feelings
I do.
last Saturday?
Oh, the guy was heartbroken.
I can't rember his name. I wish I could because
He's probably more heartbroken by that you can't.
was it
remember his name.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just say it was him.
Hey,
I don't know.
I'm sorry, Deborah. All right.
Sorry, Deborah.
Here we go. Next contestant.
Test them.
Thomas. I
What was
almost
that?
said Tomas, but then I combined the English word and the Spanish word. Thomas is who we have on the line.
Thomas, welcome to the show,
How's it
my
going,
friend.
guys?
Good.
Very good, Thomas.
going
Very
well.
good.
Here we go. First question. What is the name of the stadium the Twins play in?
Is that Target Field?
Correct.
It
Well
is
done,
indeed
Thomas.
Target Field.
That was not
Question.
Sorry, but that was not a gimme. I thought that was a good get.
Okay.
Good get by you, Thomas. Very good.
All right. Just
Question
buttering him
number
up to
2.
eliminate him, huh?
How many games was Jerickson Profar suspended for?
Boy.
80 games.
80 games.
80 games. That gets you to round number 3.
Well done.
Tony, hold on 1 second. Or ask the second question of number. Okay, wait, hold on. I have an update for you. Sorry.
What are you doing over there?
I had to update a question because it was written the other day.
Oh.
Okay, Tony, you're ready.
Coming into today, which player leads baseball in home runs?
Is it Aaron Judge?
Aaron Judge.
All rise.
Stay there,
It is
Tony.
not Aaron Judge.
Eugenio Suarez.
Eugenio.
Ah. Sorry, Thomas.
Chris
Good game.
does it again.
See,
This is
like I
terrible.
fill up these questions and then immediately they're gone. Just immediately.
You know, I don't want to
Immediately.
it all. So we'll need our next contestant there, Scrape.
Okay. We'll go with who are we gonna go with? We're gonna go with Jack. Hello,
Jack, welcome to the show, my friend.
By the way, sniffling
Hey, guys,
into the
how you doing?
microphone is no better than me coughing into the microphone or breathing.
Who sniffled?
You did. You just took a long sniffle.
No, I did not.
Okay.
That was
Sounded like it.
That's why I think Tony was breathing.
Nope. Pretty sure it was
No,
your
wait,
sniffle.
don't-
I did not
Hold
sniffle.
on. Hold on. Hold up, don't blame me. I didn't do anything.
Yeah,
I
no,
did not
no,
sniffle.
Tony in on this. I heard a sniffle.
Anyway, Jack, welcome to the show.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Jack. Yeah, don't bother our.
Thanks, guys.
Here we go.
He's
First
like, I'm just here to
question.
play.
Yeah,
I'm
Jack
here
just
to
wants to play. Yeah, let him play.
Jack, who is the commissioner of MLB?
Rob Manfred.
No, he did not pronounce it
Manfred is
correctly.
indeed.
Rob Manfred. That's how you do it.
Question number 2. Which Nationals pitcher holds the record for most strikeouts in organization history?
Is it Scherzer?
What was Scherzer?
Scherzer.
Stay there. Well, again, this is where I get, troubled. Because I don't know if Scraby just means the Washington Nationals, but the way the question was asked was organization history, which would include the Montreal Expos. And I don't know if they have the guy. I'll just say Strasburg to get it out of the way.
Steven Strasburg.
Strasburg, ready to go.
Sorry about that, Jack.
All right, we have to go to tiebreaker now.
Do we, though?
I
Oh,
have
because we don't have enough
questions.
questions, so yeah. Yeah, I guess we do. Tiebreaker.
All right, I already
Here
have
we
a
go.
player up. Joe Ryan, the pitcher for the Twins.
All right.
Okay. No fighting from you guys, so I'm just going to take it and move forward. Let's go with Scott. Hello, Scott.
How we doing?
Hey,
Pretty
Scott.
good. You know how to
We're
play
doing
tiebreaker?
well, Scott.
I'm ready.
Okay, he's ready. I'm gonna ask Chris a question. He's gonna give me a number answer, and then you're gonna guess whether or not the actual answer is higher or lower than what Chris guessed. All right, Chris.
Yes.
How many? Sorry, I'm looking for a good number. How many games has he started in his career?
Joe Ryan. How many games has he started? And for the Twins, or just overall? Overall. How many years has he played?
5.
5 years for Joe Ryan. 110.
110. Scott, is the actual answer higher or lower?
Lower.
Lower. You are correct.
We got a winner.
Nice job.
Scott's a happy guy.
Joe Ryan has started, not including today, 85 games in his career.
All right.
So he only started 5 his first year.
That's what cost me.
Yeah.
And also the fact that his 5th year he's only started 1. See,
True.
I was factoring a full 5th season.
Your full 5 seasons?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's what threw me off. But very good. Scott, you were able to ferret out that information, and
I love it when Chris says ferret.
you get the chance to go to Las Vegas.
Stay there, Scott.
Good on you.
All right. Let's get to wait. Do we go to break or do we?
Oh no,
we're in no man's land.
We are in no man's land.
I think we have to hang on.
You know, I've
until
had listeners tell
Okay.
me that they don't like when we talk about the clock, but that's our show.
I don't blame them for not liking it. It's not great radio, but we are supposed to break at a certain time every day, every hour. And if we don't, then we have a backup plan.
Yes.
And the backup plan entails us chit-chatting for another 4 minutes. So here's one.
What you got, Chris?
I got one for you. Who do you think NBA executives are comparing Cooper Flagg to? There are 2 great NBA players. One's in the Hall of Fame. One is going to be in the Hall of Fame. And very recognizable names. One's been a finals MVP. The other has not been a finals MVP only because his teammate took it away every time.
I already know the answer, so I won't.
Okay,
say.
you do. I think it's interesting. Cooper Flagg, this is pretty high praise for a young player, Tony. I don't know if you see the same thing they do. They're comparing him to either Scottie Pippen or Kawhi Leonard. And those are getting way up there. Like, I think Scottie Pippen might be the best on-ball, man-on-man defender because of his length and athleticism I've ever seen. And we already know about Kawhi's clutch performances and defense and long arms. Is Cooper Flagg, I mean, what are you seeing in Cooper Flagg? I know you love him, but that's a lot.
I think offensively, at the if you were asking me about Kawhi Leonard and who's the other one you named? Kawhi Leonard and
Scotty.
And Scotty at the same age, I'd say Cooper Flagg is miles ahead offensively of where Kawhi was at the same stage.
Yeah, you're right.
And where Scottie Pippen was at the same stage. That being said, I don't think Cooper Flagg is close to the defender that those two were at the same point in time. And so, I could see like the finished product of Cooper Flagg being on the line of the finished product of what we saw from Kawhi Leonard and Scottie Pippen, like where they ended up. I can see Cooper Flagg being compared to those guys for sure. But I think they are polar opposites in some ways, looking at where Scottie Pippen was and Kawhi Leonard was at the same age.
That's true, because Scottie Pippen, when he came into the league, really other than a dunk shot, was not really much of an offensive threat. Yeah. And we know Kawhi couldn't make an outside shot really when he was with the Aztecs. They used to lay off him and play him for the drive. And then he turned into an incredible shooter. Scottie Pippen also turned into a pretty darn good offensive player himself.
100%.
So, it's weird to compare a college athlete now to an NBA Hall of Fame type player because there's just there's such different places in their career. I'm not good at judging this stuff. I wonder, what do you think of Johnny Broom, Janai Broom, the Auburn center? He's 6'10". Is he big enough, strong enough, athletic enough to make a difference in the NBA? Number one, Tony. Number two, why would you even pick a guy like that when he's basically a post player and there are no post players in the NBA anymore?
Good question. I think there's some post players. I just think that if you're going to be a post player, you have to be extremely efficient. You got to be of the jokers of the world, shoot a high percentage. I think the NBA is going to move towards wanting guys like that because it gives the league some diversity. Part of the issue for some is that they're shooting everybody's shooting threes. Well, what makes Gilgeous-Alexander so fun to watch, what makes some of the main guys who are in the league is that they have a variety in their game.
Yeah.
They can score at all three levels. So I think a guy like that can thrive. I think he's going to obviously have to develop his jump shot from beyond the arc and from a little ways out. But I think the more diversity you have, I think the NBA is going to start moving towards that. All right. We've done our job here. Let's get to break. More Gwynn and Chris on the other side. Here's some traffic.
From the 855, get
Welcome back. Gwynn and Chris, 4:25 is the time. Chris Ella, Tony Gwynn Jr. in Chicago. I'm jealous. Matt Scraby's alongside here at the Odyssey Palace Studios. Earlier this morning, Mike Shildt was on with Ben and Woods. The manager's report, refreshed by Eco Water SoCal. Manager, probably feeling pretty good about now. 7-0. Ben and Woods had a bunch of questions for him. If you want to hear the whole interview, go to 97.3thefan.sd.com. But here's a bit of it. Mike Shildt talking about his young star, Jackson Merrill.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot of superlatives that I can say about Jackson, and that includes his baseball talent. You know, he's just a really put together young man that has his head on straight. You know, that just cares about people, cares about the organization, cares about winning, and you know, really clearly has some real ability and desire to compete, and use his ability to help us win ball games. I mean, those are traits that, you know, we talk about, and they sound easy, but they're not. To have that kind of, you know, total package, and Jackson clearly has it, and you know, good for him, good for us, good for everybody listening that supports and you know, roots for the Padres, because he's one of these generational guys that come along that helps you know, move the needle towards greatness, and so we're excited to have him.
You know, what's interesting about that statement, Tony, was that he began by saying Jackson has a lot of great qualities about him, and that includes his baseball. And I think what he meant by that is
talking about the baseball.
Exactly. He wasn't talking about the baseball. We know how good he is. We see him. I've only interviewed him the one time. You get to spend a little more time, I'm sure, with him. But down at Peoria this spring, and I was immediately just struck by how beyond his years he is. And I'm sure I'm not the first to say it. I bet you everybody who visits with him probably says pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I having a chance to get to know Jackson over the last year and some change, getting to know, you know, his background, his mom and his dad, who, you know, I saw at spring training, seemed like all the time. Mom's a teacher. You know, it matches, you know, his upbringing. It matches where he comes from, and what, you know, his parents kind of have obviously taught him, and all of those things, you know, have been mixed together. And this is the young man that we see before us. And yeah, a lot of it, obviously his baseball skills are at a high level, but his human skills are also, his human being skills are also at a high level. You know, you know, it is not often. I shouldn't say it's not often. It's not often that a city gets to have a player in which those things are at the forefront, and Jackson has clearly shown that in his short stint here in San Diego, and I'm sure everybody is enjoying it,
including AJ Preller, who told a really funny story that Scraby played yesterday for us on the air about the first time he went to see Jackson Merrill play, and he was during the COVID, and he got run out of town by the security officer, and it was a very funny story. If
I
you
just
haven't heard
imagine
it.
him with the glasses with the mustache.
No, he had
know,
he was trying to be incognito, but I'm sure he was, because he probably had the mask on during COVID. AJ Preller, but he. Anyway.
Oh yeah, see, I bet you there were parts of AJ that probably enjoyed that time, because he could be, you know,
a little more secretive.
You know, he could basically have a disguise while he was out, you know, looking at players. So
yeah,
you know,
good story.
That's
Everything about Jackson's good right now. All right, we got the Big Five next. Gwynn and Chris rolls on.
Ben and Woods on the Fan.
ESPN's Jeff Passan here on Ben and Woods.
This team is not a little brother. I think the Padres are the best.
There's an obvious question. Long hair, long beard. Have you had a shave since the last game of the season?
I don't think so.
Man.
I don't think so.
That's great.
Why is that?
Just changing it up. Why not? You know?
Okay. All right. I'm jealous of the beard, because I'm a guy who likes to grow a beard, but your beard, how long did that take to grow?
I think this is 3 months, maybe.
3 months.
Now,
Okay.
is this going to stay as we get into spring? You're going to keep it, because I don't think I've ever seen you. I've seen the beard before. I don't think I've ever seen the hair.
No, I haven't had hair like this since I was 12. I'll probably keep it. We'll see how it performs. Really.
That's the key.
That's
How
the
does it
biggest thing.
perform?
That's the biggest thing.
Speaking of perform, how you feeling, man? Obviously, spring training right around the corner. Pitchers and catchers report. This is the time of year where the green light goes on again.
Yeah, I feel good. Working on a bunch of different stuff. Biggest thing is really just getting the body to feel good and getting ramped up. But I feel like I'm on track.
How do you deal in terms of getting yourself ready each and every year? You know, ball players are notorious for always trying to figure out how to get a little bit better. You're probably one of the most consistent guys in our league. Is there as much a focus on finding ways to get better, or is the focus how to continue on the path that you've been on, which is a guy who can get in a lot of innings every year?
I mean, I guess it kind of depends on what part of the offseason I'm in, and what I'm trying to work on. Like specifically this offseason, I've made a little mechanical adjustment, tinkering with some new pitches, but the bulk of it is just getting my body ready. Really, I mean that's the main focus, main priority. So I kind of know where I need to be in terms of like my velocity and bullpens and building up and all that. So I always like to think I'm adding. I'm definitely working on new pitches and exciting stuff like that. So, but at the end of the day, I kind of know that my four-seamer and my slider and my curveball are kind of going to be my main pitches.
Right.
So it's like, no matter what, that's my base and foundation, and everything from there is just tinkering and just seeing if I can get a little bit better.
We're talking to... All of a sudden, my mic over there.
There you go.
Sorry. We're talking to Dylan Cease here,
Don't
Padres
panic.
starting pitcher. I wasn't panicking.
You look like you panicked.
I was panicking for one half.
He made me panic.
Did I look like I panicked?
You panicked a little bit, that's
all right. Well, if Dylan says I panicked, then I panicked. I'm going to have to ask the question about, and I know you've been asked this today, but your name has been a part of a lot of trade rumors this year. I think Padres fans want you to stay here in San Diego. See, right there? How do you deal with that? Because I would imagine that would be hard.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's my second year in a row dealing with it, so I got experience now. It's just part of the business, I guess. Really, wherever I go, I'm gonna make the best of the opportunity. I love San Diego and I want to be here, so it's like if I don't go anywhere, I love it here. And if they trade me, then I just have to go make the best of it wherever I go.
Now, Dylan, you talked a little bit about working on new pitches and mechanics. For you, how long does a mechanical change take to be something where you don't have to think about it anymore?
Yeah, and that depends. This specific scenario, I'm working on an upper half thing, a glove thing. So I don't know. It's kind of new territory for me.
Yeah, so you're kind of figuring it out as you go.
Yeah, but it really gets to the point where it feels good, and then from there it's just ramping up the intensity. And because anytime you do something at a higher power, higher speed, it's like a new feeling altogether. So I can sit and train it one way, but until I'm throwing 98 with it.
Doing in game speed, yeah.
And a lot of it, is kind of like learning my body, and then I'll throw a pitch and it's like, oh, that didn't come out the way I wanted it to. Like specifically if I'm throwing a four-seam fastball and I'm trying to throw it just through somebody, but it's yanked, it's like, okay, something happened right there. I don't know, something came off. I didn't use my legs.
You could just feel something different about it.
And then you see the shape of the pitch. So a lot of it's just gaining feedback from what the ball's doing, and then trying to manipulate my body to see like, oh, okay, when I do this, the ball goes this way, and just see if I can't ingrain that.
Well, Dylan, I think the first obvious question: long hair, long beard. Have you had a shave since the last game of the season?
I don't think so.
Man,
I don't think so.
That's great.
Why is that?
Just changing it up. Why not?
Okay. All right. I'm jealous of the beard because I'm a guy who likes to grow a beard. But your beard, how long did that take to grow?
I think this is 3 months, maybe.
3 months.
Now,
okay.
is this going to stay as we get into spring? You're going to keep it, because I don't think I've ever seen you. I've seen the beard before. I don't think I've ever seen the hair.
No, I haven't had hair like this since I was 12. I'll probably keep it. We'll see how it performs, really.
That's the key.
That's
How
the
does
biggest
it
thing.
perform?
That's the biggest thing.
Speaking of perform, how you feeling, man? Obviously, spring training right around the corner. Pitchers and catchers report. This is the time of year where the green light goes on again.
Yeah, I feel good.
$6:35 here in Chi-Town, 4:35 out in San Diego. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scraby. Little Gwynn and Chris. Little Big Five coming your way. Do we have any things to clean up here before we head to the Big Five, gentlemen?
Just to update, Aaron Judge has gone deep. Yankees lead the D-backs 4-1. Second inning, fifth of the year for Judge, a 3-run shot. NL West power.
Snakes.
Snakes. NL West power.
Snakes.
Wait, do you have the ability to just isolate?
I will.
Snakes.
All right, let's do one. Everybody be quiet. Snakes. There we go. We got a clean one.
That is quite phenomenal. All right. Well, without further ado, let's get some traffic and then to the Big Five we go.
From the 855 Get Ross Traffic Center, protecting San Diego after accidents or injury, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by your local San Diego County, the UPS stores. Problems along the 5 this afternoon. Crash clearing from La Jolla Village Drive on-ramp to northbound 5 and in the South Bay, southbound 5 right before Main Street. We have reports of a collision that's been moved over to the right shoulder. Your local San Diego County, the UPS store locations are hosting a shred event from April 7th through April 15th. 50% off shredding services. Visit theupsstore.com for the location nearest you. See store for details. And Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's that time of the show when we check on the latest in sports. Only the most important topics and questions are brought to light.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
These news stories will astound and amaze you. The one, the only.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
The Big Five starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Join the College Madness this Monday, April 7th, and watch the championship game at Dave & Buster's in Mission Valley. Catch all the excitement on their giant screens, enjoy fantastic food and drinks, and play your favorite games in the ultimate sports atmosphere. Don't miss the big game, only at Dave & Buster's. I'm telling you, that screen that was behind me during the broadcast was awesome. So it's a perfect place for you to watch the championship game. I was going to ask Chris who's playing, and I realized that we don't know yet. So thank goodness I didn't actually ask that. All right, Chris is just shaking his head. I can never tell if he's going to attack me or if he's just going to keep going with...
I like to keep you guessing.
Okay. All right, let's go to the first one.
Number 5.
Now, the Padres have been incredible in pretty much every facet of the game. So, Tony, you're up first today. Both their bullpen and their base stealing and base running has been incredible. What do you think is more sustainable, the bullpen being great or the base stealing being like it is right now?
Base stealing, I don't think any of it is sustainable at the rate that it is. I will say base running, if we're saying base running, I would say that is the thing that can be most sustainable over the course of the season. The steals, I imagine, as we get deeper into the season, will start to slow down. We don't have young rabbits out there like maybe the Reds do, who could probably keep it up the whole year, and just because of their youth. I don't think that'll be the case. We're gonna pick our spots as they have, but the base running in terms of first to thirds and first to ball in the third, that all of it inclusive, I think that's more sustainable than the pace that bullpen is set to start the season.
Chris, what do you think is more sustainable, bullpen or base running?
I don't even think it's a think. I'm pretty sure I know, because there's no way the bullpen's going to have a 0.7 or something ERA the
You
whole
don't know
season. I do. I really do. I mean, so the base.
You feel pretty confident.
Yeah, I
at the
feel
very
pretty
least.
confident they won't. But I know the base running can continue because I think it's like in football when they say, or basketball, they say, on the road, sometimes you don't shoot as well, but defense always travels. I always feel like base running can travel and be good anywhere. So they've been really smart and, things are working out. And here's the other thing. They've had guys thrown out on the bases this year. It hasn't been perfect, but in a lot of ways, that's almost made it better because I know that they're pushing it and they're putting the pressure on other teams to make great plays to stop their base running. So I hope it continues, and I think it will.
All right.
Number 4.
The Las Vegas Raiders are reportedly signing quarterback Geno Smith to a 2-year contract extension worth $85.5 million with $66.5 million guaranteed. Multiple sources tell Jordan Shildt, the guy who got in a fight with Ian Rappaport at the Starbucks. This news comes after
he did not get into a fight.
Okay, they got into a
There's
verbal spar. This news comes after they traded for Smith from the Seahawks, reuniting him with head coach Pete Carroll, and Smith has publicly credited Carroll with revitalizing his career, citing the coach's influence in instilling the self-confidence necessary for his success as the Seahawks starting quarterback. Chris, is Geno Smith still a playoff caliber quarterback?
Was he ever one? I mean, he got to the number 7 seed a couple years ago. Last year, he didn't get there. I don't find Geno Smith to be in the upper echelon of NFL quarterbacks. No. I find him to be in the, just ahead of the middle of the pack.
So I think he's between
12 and 18 or
Okay.
something. So I think I could easily find 11 guys better than him. So, no, I don't really think I guess he's playoff level. He got there, but he doesn't scare me as a guy who can do it himself. I don't know if that's the greatest call ever by the Raiders, but it's a decent placeholder, and while the rest of the team around him gets better.
Tony, do you think Geno Smith is still a playoff caliber quarterback?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's proven that he's a quarterback that can get his team to the playoffs. Now, beyond that, I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. But yeah, I think this is. Listen, the Raiders aren't in a position to draft a quarterback, or at least they don't think the quarterbacks will be there. That by the time they draft, that it suffices using as high of a pick as they have. I wouldn't be surprised though if indeed Shador, let's say, slides to them, that they take him. Remember, Pete Carroll was the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks when they signed, Matt Flynn, and then only to draft Russell Wilson in that same draft in the second round to follow that year. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I could see a scenario in which it happens. But I do think Geno Smith's a playoff caliber quarterback.
All right, a quick announcement for everyone. There will be a Scraby show today at 6 p.m. We're going to do the roundtable at 5 p.m., but I have Scrabinator game information announcement. So if you would like to try and win a spot into the Odyssey Suite, I will tell you all about it on the Scraby show around 6:20.
Number 3.
Grambling State head coach Mickey Joseph has a pretty interesting idea about how his high school about his school, not his high school, it's a college, could get some sort of compensation for a player leaving early. Here he is with the media talking about it.
We understand. We understand. I think the kids understand if they're here and if they're sophomores and they have a big year and a group of 5 or a power 5 approach them and they have the finances to pull them out of there and I can't match the finances, then you know what? They're going to go. That's part of it. Coach has been doing it for years. So we shouldn't get mad as coaches when these kids make decisions to take care of their family. Because like I said, I'm going to say it again. Coach has been doing it for years. But I also think there need to be a buyout. If they move up for me and go to group of 5 and power 5, I should get kind of a compensation for that, So NCAA, if you're listening to me, I need a buyout.
All right, so that's what Mickey Joseph said. I think it's a really, really good idea.
I do. I like the idea.
Tony, the question is, do you like this idea?
I
Good
do.
question,
I
Scrape.
do.
Thank you.
That is a good question. I think the mere fact that that is the main thing Chris and I say often when the players, these athletes start to get criticized. Well, coaches do it. Nobody says anything then. This is also something that happens with coaches when they leave. That school gets a little bit of a buyout. They get something in return. I think this is going to have to be a part of the equation because, listen, it's a part of the equation for the coaches when they move, right? School gets compensated. I know we see some astronomical buyout prices. I mean, maybe you cap it for the athlete so that it's not a deterrent for schools that want to bring them there. But I think it's a good idea. I really do.
It could keep some things in check. Chris, what do you think about this idea of a buyout?
I love it, which is probably, and it makes perfect sense, which is definitely why it won't happen. Because the NCAA is just so
100%.
stupid. I mean, you could give them the best idea of all
100%.
time, and they'll look at you and go, huh?
They'll be like, oh, well,
Yeah.
we got a better idea.
There'll be 5,000 reasons why they can't do it. I think it's yeah. I mean, give them something. The schools are the ones that develop a lot of these players. It'd be nice.
I agree.
And I'm sure the rich schools could easily afford another $1 million on top of the $1 million they're giving the kids.
It would also be like, do we really want this player?
Well, it also might help the team losing the player pile up a little money to be able to do some bidding
So they
of their
can get
own.
the next one.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Number 2.
Awful Announcing recently asked people to determine the best broadcast booth in sports, and CBS's lead NCAA tournament broadcast team of Ian Eagle, Bill Rafferty, and Grant Hill won the top prize. The trio of college basketball announcers overcame the NFL on Fox duo of Joe Davis and Greg Olson in a final vote by a margin of 61 to 39%. After already beating ESPN's Monday Night Football tandem of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman 52 to 48%. The CBS team was the only non-NFL broadcast booth to make it that far in Awful Announcing's tournament. So, Chris, who's your favorite national broadcast team in sports?
Jim Nance and Tony Romo, I think, still stay on top for me. Romo's dipped a little, but I really enjoy. And Buck and Aikman are right there because Troy Aikman is underrated in his ability to inform. I learn a lot watching him. I don't hate their selection, though, because I'm so big on how great Ian Eagle is. I think Raftery and Grant Hill they're not my favorite, but Ian Eagle's so good that it elevates that group.
All right. So, Tony, who's your favorite national broadcast team in sports?
I like Joe and Troy as my favorite.
Yeah.
But I also enjoy Ian Eagle and Bill Raftery and Grant Hill. I like, really, I don't have a problem with the main top of the line crews. Like, I think they're all really good. I love Romo. I don't have a problem with all four. I would still put Joe Buck and Troy Aikman as my top, though.
Notice that Tom Brady wasn't even mentioned.
I know. I'd put it at the bottom. I'd put Tom Brady at the bottom next to Carl Ravitch. Oh my God! Does he still do ESPN Sunday night?
He does, but
sorry,
just saw.
He's losing his job this year because ESPN is out.
Yeah, sorry, Carl. I can't.
Man, just dancing on someone's grave over there.
I'm a mean dude.
Number 1.
I'm a mean dude. The A's called Monday their first game ever at Sutter Health Home Park a sellout, but said the paid attendance was only 12,119. According to KXTV reporter Matt George, the A's gave the remaining tickets, nearly 1,300, to player family members, team executives, and other guests. So they were writing, sure, stadium was full, but giving away nearly 10% of the available seats in the ballpark makes the full house feel a little different. Tony, what is a sellout to you?
That's a trick question.
How is that a trick question?
It is, because I don't know that any sellout I've ever been to
is actually a sellout.
Like I don't see any seats available. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen like no seats available. So to me would be a sellout, but clearly that's not the rule in order to get a sellout. So I don't actually know. I would consider a sellout every seat, standing room only.
Standing room. Okay. All right. Chris, what do you think a sellout is?
That's a good one. Chicago Stadium. In the Bulls days, they used to have standing room tickets. So you'd have to stand and watch the games back in the early Jordan era. Actually, though, a sellout is when Scraby tells me something that Adam shouldn't know, and then I go to tell Adam.
What?
I sold you out. It's a sellout.
I got what you said.
I was trying to think.
It's not a real scenario, but
yeah, sorry.
I was trying to think. Did I do something recently that sold Chris out? Like, I don't think I've been that diabolical as of late.
No, I'd sell you out.
Yes, you would, Chris. Yes, you would. When I was going to school in San Francisco, the Giants kept claiming sellouts, but they didn't have all of their seats filled all the time. They claimed like years worth of sellouts, and not every.
I mean,
seat
they
was
had
filled.
a record. They had a streak of consecutive games sold out.
Yeah, it was a long one, but they weren't actually sold out. Every seat was purchased, I guess, but not everyone was there. That's it for the Big Five. I'm a little disappointed.
You left it 3 minutes short.
We blew that through that thing.
Yeah, I guess bad categories today, bad topics today, guys.
World record Big Five speed today.
Yeah, why can't we do this every day?
I was about to say, Scraby wishes we could go that fast on most days.
Yep.
What's all right? So with that, sorry, Tony, it gives us time to ask where you're going tonight.
Yeah, we're going to dinner.
We shouldn't pry into your life, but you're in Chicago. Do you have anything exciting, or just be general?
Not
Do you have
really.
something fun planned, or no?
Not really. I'm gonna go meet with an older producer back in the day when I used to do Padres POV. I'm gonna go get some pizza at Robert's Pizza.
I'm jealous. I don't even know if I'm sure Roberts is brilliant.
Is Roberts a pizza-ish?
It came down to there or Geno's East, and I chose Roberts because Geno's East is kind of very touristy. I want to go some non-touristy spot.
Have you been to what's the other one with the great salad dressing? Sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up. I went with Darren. I went with Darren Wong when we were there for San Diego State one time, and there was the deep dish pizza and the whole thing. Illuminelli's. There you go.
Illuminati.
Illuminati's. Yeah.
No, Lou Malnati's.
Lou Malnati's. Right.
Illuminati is like a.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Illuminati's
secret group.
Anyway, that's another great one, and they have the best salad dressing of all time. It's so good that I actually sent to Illinois and had it shipped out to my house after I got home.
See, I'm sorry, this is off subject, but we brought it up. You brought it up earlier, the Cooper Flagg comparison. You had Scottie Pippen and who was the other one? Kawhi. I think a better comparison is one that I see on ESPN right now. How similar his game is to Lamar Odom when he was in college. That to me is a more comparable guy, not necessarily Lamar's finished product, but what he was when he was at Rhode Island for that 1 year.
Lamar Odom is trying to make a comeback in his life, and for the last I've heard, he's doing a lot better and doing well.
Yeah,
considering where he had gotten down to.
Yeah, talk about a guy who was
cheer for Lamar Odom,
right on the brink of death.
He was. Without a doubt. All right, we got the happy hour, or no, we don't have a happy hour today. We do,
the round table is a part of the happy hour.
Thank you. Yes, the round table. This morning's round table is. Wow, he told me what to say, and I boxed it up.
Do you want me to tell you again?
The round table is.
Wait. This is a famous quote of Chris. I'll get it done.
The round table is part of the happy hour today, and it is brought to you by GL Pools, the swimming pool experts trusted by thousands of San Diegans since 2006. Baseball is back. So is swim season. Call now, mention the word radio, and you'll get a free month of pool service. Yes, the round table with Ben and I and Woodsy and Scraby and Braden and Paul, everybody this morning talking nothing but Padres for a commercial-free hour. And then after that, Scraby's back with the Chronicles. I think I say goodbye today. No, Tony says goodbye today.
Well, in that case, enjoy your night.
Well done.
Scraby Chronicles follows the roundtable. Take care.
See you, T. the Rockies for another 6 games, so they should be safe.
Fair enough. Next homestand, the Rockies.
That's the big concern. Yes.
To sober us all up very quickly. All right,
that's right.
Yesterday, of course, the big news: Jackson Merrill with the 9-year contract extension. I think everyone agrees. Great move by the Padres around baseball, team-friendly deal. So I won't go there, but now the Padres have 3 core players locked up. You've got Manny Machado, well into his career now, into his 30s. You've got 26-year-old Fernando Tatis Jr., and you have Jackson Merrill. Manny's done it for a few years.
You have Xander Bogaerts.
I'm not putting him in this question, though, because of the question, and let's start with on the other end with Matt Scraby here, is of those 3 that I mentioned, Manny, Tatis, or Merrill, who will finish with the best Padres career when all is said and done?
Oh, my goodness. That is
it's diabolical,
question.
Isn't it?
That is
Isn't
a
that
loaded
a tough one?
question because immediately I want to say Jackson Merrill because I love the guy so much. But I got to think that Fernando, if he plays like this, he's the guy who has the extreme talent out of the 3 of them. They're all very talented, but Fernando's the guy who has the extra gear. So I would say that he ends up as a better Padre, but Manny's doing some great things as a Padre as well. But I'm going to go with Fernando.
Woodsy, you've always been such a Manny guy, and he's done it. He's so consistent. The hardest thing about a career is consistency, and Manny's the only one who's really shown that. Fernando has, had his injuries that he's played through, suspension. Jackson's been great from day one, but he's only 1 year into what is an unpredictable sport and unpredictable career. I think there is an argument for Manny Machado. What do you think?
I think there is too. I mean, he's probably my pick right now today. Probably the safest pick of the 3. But when you look at ceiling, I think Scraby hit it on the head. Fernando Tatis Jr. has the ceiling that is potentially 50-50 guy, 40-40 at a minimum, right? He's got that every year. But Jackson Merrill nipping at his heels. I mean, Jackson continues to impress every single time he gets on the field, and again, he said it. I haven't gotten my big boy strength yet. That guy's just going to get better and better if he stays healthy. Sky's the limit for him. But Manny's a really safe pick for me.
I think so too. Paulie, do you have a lean on any of these 3?
Well, I think it honestly should be more the 2, Jackson Merrill versus Fernando Tatis Jr. Because if you're going to say their time with the Padres, Manny had almost 10 years before he got to the Padres. So if you're going to look at their career as a whole when it's all said and done, now Manny Machado retires today, he's going into the Hall of Fame. I think he's a Hall of Famer. He's right there. He will be a Hall of Famer in my opinion when it's all said and done. So, but for the best Padres career, I do think Fernando can catch Manny Machado's Padres home run record of 170. Wherever he's at now, but it was 171, I think. I do think that Fernando can catch that. I'll go with Fernando as well by a slim margin. I think Fernando's more likely to win maybe some MVP awards than Jackson Merrill, and I think certainly than Manny Machado as well. I agree with what you guys said, though. His ceiling is just so high. If he's healthy, it was the number one thing I was excited about for this season was what could a full 158 game season look like from a healthy Fernando Tatis Jr.? And he started off locked in.
I like that, Paul. You're thinking kind of like me because Fernando's locked in for 14 years. Even Jackson with his new contract will still only be 31, and he may spend the last 8 or 9 years of his career somewhere else. I hope not, but it's certainly possible. Braden, what's your thoughts here?
Well, I agree with all these guys when it comes to Fernando for sure. I think Fernando is arguably the best player on the team. And I thought you saw that on opening day. He was the best player on the field. And it wasn't even, that particularly close. And I think that's the big reason why when he first came onto the scene, he was the face of baseball. And he went through that, all the off-field things that he had to deal with injuries and the PED scandal and all that stuff. And I think that's finally behind him now. And you really get to see, and I think Major League Baseball, who has, maybe forgotten about him a little bit, not a lot. Everybody knows how great Fernando is. I think you're starting to see that now. But in terms of your question, just to play devil's advocate and throw some love for Jackson Merrill, yesterday when we talked about the contract, after you guys had your show and after the press conference, we had a lot of people, saying this could be the next Mr. Padre because of his ties to the city and how much he wants to be there, taking kind of a hometown discount and everything like that, and what he brings from the intangible side. I talked about that on the show yesterday too, about all of the mental makeup that he has, about his desire to win, about, what it brings to now the youth San Diego. I mean, how cool is it now? And I said this yesterday. I mean, Woods has young kids. How cool is it now for your kids, Woods, to have a core group of players that they know are going to be Padres their entire childhood? I didn't have that as a San Diego kid growing up here. It was a different group of players almost every single year. And I think from the standpoint of best Padres career, we're going to think about him as a Padre. You bring up a good point. He could be somewhere else by the time this contract's over. But the way that he kind of encapsulates San Diego and the way that San Diego's really behind him and how much he loves this place, not to say Fernando doesn't, I'm gonna pick Jackson Merrill from all of the intangibles aside from just on the field.
Chris, I think part of the irony here is that when we talk about best career as a Padre, you're going to start with the numbers that they put on as a Padre, but I think how much winning the team does is also going to affect our perception. And the contract Jackson Merrill signed yesterday will not only help Jackson, but it'll help Manny and Tatis as well look better as Padres, because he's going to be around for their entire 10 years as Padres as well. They're all going to benefit each other over the next 10 years.
I just wanted to point out the play that Jackson Merrill made in the game yesterday, and it was not his home run. It was beating a force play at second base on a simple ground ball to third. That doesn't happen. You watch the rest of the season, you count how many times on a regular ground ball to the left side of the infield with 2 outs in the inning, a runner at first base beats the force. They're always out. They never make it. He made it. He's got a work ethic. He's got something that even Fernando, I don't think, has. Manny Machado, I don't think, can win this award because, as Paul said, he played too much of his career elsewhere. He's the leader of the group of the pack. But Jackson Merrill has a work ethic. He has an understanding and a respect for the game already at this young age that I think is off the charts. And I do think physically he's going to wind up being as talented as Fernando when all is said and done. Fernando he's way more talented right now. I think Jackson Merrill is going to catch and pass him.
Does the fact that Jackson got drafted by the Padres affect this decision too? Because he's drafted, developed, and brought through?
If he stays with the Padres his entire career and even just puts up seasons consistently like he did his rookie year, he could put up such astronomical numbers starting at age 20. I mean, if he had a 20-year career with the Padres, he would break Tony Gwynn's records by the end of his tenure. So if he does stay, he can build it up. I think for me, and they're all different players. Manny's greatness is in his consistency, his posting every single year. Obviously he has unbelievable skills as well. Fernando, I know that if I watch a season of Fernando, he's going to do spectacular things, both at the plate, in the field. And I don't know when they're going to come, but they will come. They'll be spectacular. But with Jackson, it's like every time he's up now, I expect him to do something good. And he almost always rewards me, or every time he's in the field and he's on the base path. I mean, he's already so consistent with his performance in ways that I don't normally see young players get. Usually young players are inconsistent and you see the glimpses of greatness and they put together a season. He barely slumped at all in his rookie year, and now he's picking up right where he left off and maybe even a little bit better in his second year. I'm kind of leaning toward Jackson Merrill now as my guy that might put together the best career of them all. All right, good start here. First 15 minutes of our first roundtable. Our 97.3 The Fan Padres roundtable is brought to you by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. It really is pizza royalty. Why are we laughing?
What were we going to say?
Nothing.
We had a rebuttal that you did not.
It's okay. It's okay. He's locked
Full
in
wrecking
over
ball.
there. He has a really hard job,
Let's
but I don't
tell
want
him
to bother.
about locked in bed.
And I go, welcome to my life.
That's why we were laughing. No, I was going to say that I said on the show last week, I was driving home one night and Jackson Merrill was coming up to bat, and I got home and I sat in the car for Jackson Merrill to hear what happened. And that was usually only Fernando or Manny before. But now you've got multiple guys that you are now – they're sit in the car guys is what I'm calling them. And I sat there for a good 10 minutes when I could have went inside, but I wanted to see what happened, and it was because Jackson Merrill was coming out.
Well, the way they're playing right now, I call this team the canceled plans guy. Like, don't book dinners, don't book nights out, don't book anything. I don't want to miss a game.
You saying Thursday is going to be a popular night out for people in San Diego?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you want to do a date night, tonight's the night, because I want to watch the Padres, and I've always wanted that in baseball. But this team in particular, especially after this first week, it's appointment viewing. How are they going to win tonight? Are they going to steal home? Are they going to have some weird double play that they turn? And it's just incredible. The breaks have gone their way, certainly early, but man, it's been inspired, really fun baseball.
You're already seeing similarities to like the second half of last year in particular. Just the craziest sequence of events would happen, like the triple play to clinch a playoff berth or whatever. All the walk-offs, like things that did not happen the year before, started happening really in the second half of last year, and you're already feels like you're getting a glimpse of that early in the 2025 season.
All right, so we agree. There's really no bad problems right now. So let's talk about the good problems that Mike Shildt is facing. And I think one of the good problems he has is how much is the right amount to be playing Gavin Sheets. As hot as he is, at the moment, he seems to be on the platoon side against righties. But with how he's been hitting, Braden, do you want to see Gavin Sheets in the lineup every single day going forward? Did you like the way Mike Shildt is handling it and getting Yuli Gurriel and now getting Jose Iglesias some playing time as well, even if it comes at the expense once or twice a week of Gavin Sheets?
I'm all about playing the hot hand. I think if you get to a certain point where he continues to rake, I think you got to leave him in the lineup because it's hard to take that guy out of the lineup. But that being said, there is something to say about letting the guy, do what he's good at. And, a saying that Tony Gwynn used to have that I know USD Baseball uses is know who you is. And that's something that, I think with Merrill last year in particular, he was a guy that you want to a little bit protect being a rookie and have him near the bottom of the lineup, even though he was hitting really well and people wanted to see him go up, up, up. It's like, hey, just let him do his thing. I think you can make the same argument with Gavin Sheets. It's like, look, he's doing really good against right-handers. We don't necessarily know what he's going to do against left-handers. I wouldn't mind giving him an opportunity and see where it goes. But, sometimes you got to know what your role is on the team. And sometimes maybe that's the reason why he is having so much success is because he is in the role that he is. He knows who he is.
Yeah. Scraby, your thoughts on Gavin Sheets? Is this what we're seeing real? And does he deserve to be an everyday lineup institution right now?
I would say not every day just yet, but I would say that they found their DH, their main DH, and coming into the year, no one really knew who the DH was going to be. Was it going to be Luis Ariz? I mean, were you talking about him being a DH? But Gavin Sheets, I looked at his numbers when they first acquired him, and I didn't see what everybody else saw was, oh, this guy stinks. He only hits 10 home runs a year. He only does this. He only does that. I saw consistency on a really bad team. And so I looked at his numbers as he could probably be better. And then we met him at spring training, and you get that feeling of this dude really cares. He really works hard, and he wants to be great. And so I would say if he keeps going like this for a few more weeks, they got to do it because I'm not too excited about Yuli Gurriel. I know he had that hit on Saturday night. Jose Iglesias, I'm a little bit more excited about because I've seen a little bit more from him, but it's either Gavin Sheets or Jose Iglesias for me.
Well, you're kind of nodding there, Jose Iglesias. You might want a little more opportunities for those guys as well.
Yeah, that guy's a really good hitter, and
love the interview Sammy did with him.
It was really well
really
done.
Good. Yeah.
Also
good with the glove too.
Yeah, good with the glove. Great play yesterday. Look, you got to get these guys work. Everyone at the beginning of the season, you got to figure out what you have. And so I have no problem with our 7-0 baseball team, how they've deployed Gavin Sheets yet at all. None. And will that change? Look, Shilt's already done a couple of things this year that I went, hell yeah, that's trusting Jake Cronenworth to stay in against that lefty and already equal his home run total from last year off a lefty. That's purely a manager's probably gut feeling of like, no, I'm going to give Croney a look here instead of just immediately pulling the cord, going to Iglesias there. But you do have to get Gurriel ABs. You do have to get Iglesias work. Lockridge is going to need ABs. Everyone needs ABs. There's only so many to go around. Right now, it ain't broke. No need to fix anything.
And Chris, ultimately, this problem kind of solves itself in that you usually face right-handed starters. So Gavin Sheets is probably going to get the bulk of the playing time as a DH right now.
Yeah, and I have to jump in just for a quick second here. Gavin Sheets has done it for a week. And really, other than that, we have a 240 career hitter. So I'm not ready to, vault him to the status of a Yordan Alvarez with the Astros.
Full-time
yet.
DH.
It's a
Big
little
Poppy.
early.
Yeah,
It's a tad
Thanks,
early.
voice of reason.
I also know that most people
Kill the
don't
vibe.
think Yuli Gurriel's ever going to get a hit because he's been rolling over and popping up his first 12 at-bats.
And he's 41.
12 at-bats is absurd to make a decision on anything. So I think Mike Shildt has to, at least for the foreseeable future, continue platooning, getting guys opportunities. We get to the end of April, into May, then we can start deciding.
All right, let's talk about the good problems on the pitching staff. The pitching's been amazing. 4 runs allowed in the last 49 innings by the Padres. Bullpen finally did give up 1 run. That's not a problem, though. And the 4th and 5th starters, who were probably the biggest concern coming out of spring training, well, it looked really good first time through the rotation in Randy Vasquez and Kyle Hart. So when Mike Shildt does face that question of Yu Darvish returning, who so far, and again, this is early, Paulie, who do you want to see stay in that rotation right now based on what you've seen so far?
For right now, I would have to go with Randy Vasquez. I'm very excited to see how he pitches tomorrow against the Cubs. Follow up that first start was fantastic. You couldn't have asked for a whole lot more out of a Randy Vasquez. And, I guess in my head, I kind of wrote him off a little bit heading into this season with the Yu Darvish, the slow start to expect from Yu Darvish. And I go, God, we're going to go with Vasquez again. I don't know, man. And then you start looking back at, he really did provide quite a bit last season. Shildt blew our minds at FanFest when he talked about how good Randy Vasquez was for that pitching staff last year. So I guess between him and Kyle Hart, I'd say I'd lean towards Vasquez, but I'm excited with what
maybe
Kyle Hart
I'm
provides as well.
overthinking it, but I feel like every pitching staff needs a change of pace guy, a slow throwing left-hander who can.
I still have a little eligibility left.
Look out at third base.
Give teams a different look in a 3 or 4 game series. And Kyle Hart is the one guy who can do that, Chris, for the Padres, as opposed to kind of these power-armed right-handers that otherwise you'd be seeing constantly every single day. And they're really good pitchers. I'm not having a problem with any of them pitching, but it's good to have a Kyle Hart sometimes in your rotation.
Well, he's a great story too. 19th round draft choice and 9 years in the minor leagues, 10 years Korea. The only time he pitched in the major leagues, there was no fans in the stands. And then he goes out and wins his first ball game. So that was great. And you really got to root for a guy like that. To me, when Darvish comes back, by the time Darvish comes back, I still think they're going to use Darvish carefully this year. I'm thinking 15, 20 starts for him would be about right. So in the meantime, Vasquez is going to keep getting starts. Hart is as well. But don't forget about Matt Waldron, who's another perfect change of pace guy who, in my mind, has accomplished more than the other two at the big league level, despite his slump at the end of last season.
Still dealing with the oblique, but reports are that, should be throwing again soon. And you're right. Matt Waldron was the savior of the team during the summer last year when they needed pitching. Woods, and they've got Stephen Kolek, who had a good first start in the minors as well as a possible starter. Again, good problems right now for Mike Shildt.
Yeah, good problems. And I'm kind of with Paulie in that, I would love to. I know what I'm expecting from Michael King. And when I don't get it, I'm surprised. And I know what to expect from Dylan Cease. And when I don't get it, I'm surprised. I actually know what to expect from Yu Darvish. And when I don't get it, I'm surprised. I don't have that feeling about Randy Vasquez and Kyle Hart yet. It's earned, right? It's earned in baseball. And great job first time through. How are you going to do on the second, the third? The book's out a little bit. I mean, the book's out plenty on Randy Vasquez. But, when Yu Darvish comes back, one of those guys is going to go. So whoever they decide, my guess would probably be Kyle Hart just because he's the fifth guy in the rotation. But I love the change of pace lefty too. But that being said, these days, if you have righties that can get guys out, it really doesn't matter. And those guys have proven they can get guys out. Yu Darvish can get righties out, lefties out. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But I would like Yu Darvish in this rotation sooner than later.
I did like Chris's point though about maybe 15 to 20 starts depending on when he's ready, because think of how important getting off to a good first 60 games could be for the Padres, where you don't maybe feel an urgency to rush him back and need 6 or 7 strong innings every single time out. It's almost like, look, nothing's guaranteed. You can't plan for the playoffs, but you want to have him as ready to go as possible by the time you get to those late August, early September games.
And you Darvish obviously only made the limited starts last year and was fantastic in the playoffs because, partly because he was fresh. Now we're sounding like Dodger fans talking about their team.
Look how deep we are.
Oh, so deep, and we got such a good start. How do we keep ourselves in top shape through the summer with such limited competition?
How do we stay motivated for the playoffs, right?
The good news is with you, Darvish, there is not a single pitcher in baseball that I would trust more who knows their routine and knows their body and knows their arm and knows when they're ready to go. I mean, that's what we saw last year. We had no idea what to expect, and we just threw him into the fire at the end of the season, and he pitched brilliantly.
All right, let's who we have left. Scraby, Braden, any thoughts on the back end of the Padres rotation?
Well, I think Hart's going to stay. I planted my flag with Kyle Hart. I think, and Chris mentioned his story. His story is great. I think what he brings is phenomenal. I like his kind of fiery attitude. I don't think it's Nick Martinez level, but from day one of him joining the organization, the scrum that he had, and talking about organization, using the term we, understanding the history. Right, wanting to go win the division, which is great. I think he's got a great mindset. I think he's got that chip on his shoulder, and his journey, I think, has gotten to a good point. Plus, AJ Preller's done a good job with bringing players over from Japan and Korea so far in his tenure. I think even though his major league experience isn't a lot, I still think Kyle Hart at his age and with the experience that he has pitching professionally goes a little bit further than Randy Vasquez. And I think they want to let Randy Vasquez, get some innings in somewhere else and maybe have him work down in AAA a little bit too. But it's a good problem to have, as you mentioned. Plus, with Kolek and Waldron, all four of those starters are going to make starts for this team in order for them to be successful.
Yeah, you need them all. You need every one of those guys you mentioned.
All right, I want to move on because we're about halfway through, and I want to bring in, for the first time this year, the roundtable draft. It's back.
There we go.
For anyone who hasn't joined us or anyone's new to the semicircle, the draft works like a draft works. You can't pick someone who's already been picked. So even if you like someone else's answer better, you got to come up with someone else. And today's roundtable draft question is, who was your opening homestand Padres MVP of the first 7 games? And today's order is age before beauty. So, Chris, you get to lead us off, and we'll go in inverse order of age, which I believe is Woods, then me, and then I don't know between Paul and Scraby. I have no idea.
I'm almost 40.
Okay, so then Scraby, then Paul, and then our new 30-year-old.
That's right.
Just minted last week. Happy birthday to Braden.
Thank
We'll
you.
go last today. So, Chris, who was your opening homestand MVP?
Ruben Niebla. Is that a
Ruben
Niebla?
That's an outside
that
the box
works.
choice.
Can I choose that?
Thank you for not taking a good choice.
I think you can.
Yes. First of all, there's so many players I couldn't separate. Everybody had a great homestand, but I'll go with Ruben. I think he was the biggest signing of the offseason, frankly. Bringing him back, I think just set this team up for success. And his pitchers have come out. You mentioned some of the stats, but teams are hitting 166 against the Padres pitching staff through the first homestand. In 63 innings, they allowed 36 hits. That's insane. And, the whip is 0.90. He comes out there in the 8th inning yesterday. The only time the game was even a game was when the Guardians put first and third with 1 out and had the tying run to the plate. And here came old Ruben trudging out to talk to Adrian Morejon. He went back in the dugout, and the inning was over 1 pitch later. I don't know. This guy's got a magical touch, whatever it is, the whisper, whatever. So I'll go with him.
All right, Woods, who's your opening homestand MVP? All players still available.
Yes.
I mean, if you want to take
Coaches are available
Ben
too.
Fritz, perhaps.
Love Ben.
Coach,
Can't go wrong with Ben.
Don and Mud.
Yeah.
I'll go with Toddy.
Okay.
I'll go with Toddy as the tone setter. Tone setter in the field, tone setter at the plate, tone setter with the glove. Leading off, is really where I've always thought he's going to be the best and do the most damage. And that's what he's done. I mean, just a monster player. It's pretty easy choice for me. I mean, I didn't want to go like bullpen. You know what I mean? Or,
And
I didn't want to say Victor Rodriguez, even though he deserves.
Yeah,
some
no,
nod.
they all do.
But
That's why it's a tough question.
Putting
here.
the ball in play, like we talked about today, just one strikeout.
One
so
strikeout
far.
all season. And,
Yeah, man, that's what you want from your leadoff hitter, and he's dynamic.
And we talked with Mike Shildt about that. What does he like to say? Intentionality about, commanding the strike zone and making sure he's swinging at the pitches that he wants to, walking more. And whether that's because he's in the leadoff spot, I mean, you can walk more from any spot in the order, but it does feel like he's embraced. You put him there, and now he's embracing the fact that he's a leadoff hitter. Not that he can't swing for the fences, and he hits some balls hard and one over the wall. But, Fernando almost gets overlooked a little bit, but they probably aren't here without the way he has set the tone.
Do you think he's going to be able to, just as an aside, do you think Fernando's going to be able to keep from swinging at the low and outside slider like the whole year?
So, I mean,
it's incredible. He's like completely changed.
Yep.
Manny hasn't
they
swung
keep
at that
throwing
pitch
that
either.
same pitch, and he's just watching it now.
I honestly, and like you just said, Manny too. I mean, they're laying off that.
They're spitting on that thing
pitch,
now
which
for
is
sure.
crazy.
I used to be
that
so
myself.
frustrating.
But you see them go through those, they have a 2-week period where they don't
There's gonna
swing
be
at
some
it.
slumps,
And then they start swinging at it like, well, what happened last week? Because you weren't swinging at that, and now you just don't see it all of a sudden. So it's
hitting is really hard.
They got pitchers that throw it a little bit better.
very hard.
Hitting
Not-
is
not
very
impossible.
Not impossible.
Very hard. All right, I guess I'm next. I'll take an obvious choice. I'll take Jackson Merrill as my opening homestand MVP. Obviously had the 2 home runs in the last couple of games, but has done a lot more. I mean, he's had a hit in every game. Stat I saw today, he's the youngest player in baseball history to open the season with a 7-game hitting streak, beating Dave Winfield's record with the San Diego Padres, who hit in 6 in a row when he was that age. So to do what he has done, robbing a home run on opening day, just the attitude that he brings, getting hits all the time. He's on the bases, causing problems for opposing pitchers, and doing it all while apparently negotiating a life-changing contract at the same time. Putting those distractions aside and his single-minded focus, not just on baseball, but on winning baseball every single day. We saw what he did last year. We could hardly believe it because he's a rookie with all these vets. How can a rookie who's 20 years old, just turned 21, really be a team leader on a team that contains such veteran? But he became one. He now is one, and he is continuing on. So I will take the very obvious Jackson Merrill as my choice. Not quite 40 Scraby, you're next up.
Scraby's starting to sweat a little bit.
Yeah, I was like
two of his
thinking,
best
man, who am I
options.
going to choose? Real quick about Manny and Fernando swinging at the pitches. I was playing MLB The Show the other day.
Oh, okay.
And I swung at one of those pitches, and the announcer goes, and that's what you have to do to get this guy out. And I was like, if the game knows, then everybody knows. But I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going to go Jason Adam, because Jason Adam is pretty much lights out. You can't know it. I mean, what was it? 2 nights ago, he loaded the bases and then he threw one pitch, got the guy out, and everything was fine. But really, he doesn't allow runners. He doesn't allow runs. He has that funky delivery that I love. And Jason Adam, I even think he could be the closer over Robert Suarez. He's that good.
I think that's a great choice. I was trying to think, like, the bullpen is kind of a cop-out, but he's a good representation of what the bullpen has done for the Padres in this first 7 games of the season.
Everybody wants to replace Robert Suarez. He is 3 for 3 right now.
And throwing, throwing more pitches, mixing it up a little bit more. But Adam has come in a lot of the highest leverage situations when the games were close. Not that they all were close, but a few of them were, and he helped lock them down. Paulie, you are next up. We got 2 picks left.
Yeah, Scraby left me with one obvious choice, so I will pick the captain, Manny Machado, who's left on the board. I was thinking along the same lines as Scraby, though. I would have said Yuki Matsui if I was going to pick a bullpen guy. He has been unbelievable.
Wait a minute now. Wandy Peralta.
Right.
2-0.
Victory leader.
2-0 wins.
Weird to feel confident when he walks in. Like really confident.
He's a
when
good
Wandy
defender,
comes in.
too.
Yeah.
Jumps off the mound.
It's nothing. Look, with Manny, it's nothing we haven't already seen over his 6 years here now.
But it's a hot start for him.
Yeah, no, a hot
Finally,
start,
right?
healthy,
Finally.
and it's just like Fernando. What could a healthy Manny Machado look like? Can he give you more than the 30 and 110 that he gives you every single year? Maybe 35, maybe even 40 home runs. Who knows? But just the consistency and the comfort that you have watching Manny Machado just anchoring third base and where he's at in the lineup. You never have to worry about it. And he's stealing bases. Like, he looks like a different player this year.
All right, last up, Braden Soprano. We still have a couple of good choices on the board. Who are you going with?
I'm gonna go with Gavin Sheets.
Yeah, Gary Bonds.
Yeah, exactly. Gavin Sheets to me, because he represents, with Scrappy picking Adam representing the bullpen, Gavin Sheets to me represents the 7, 8, 9 and the bench pieces of this team, which is a major question mark going into the season. We knew about the top of the order was going to be the run producers that the Padres were counting on, and in the bottom half was just going to be like, hey, let's just see what we can get. And Gavin Sheets has done an excellent job. Obviously, with the home run on opening day, to either tie or take the lead. I think it was to tie the game at that point. And then the other big days that he's had over the weekend. So to spark the debate of us discussing whether or not he should play every single day. So you got a guy like that coming off the bench. You got a guy like that spot starting and being in the bottom of the order. You're going to be really good, and it's a big reason why you're 7-0 right now.
It's our 97.3 The Fan Padres Roundtable. It is presented commercial-free by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. It really is pizza royalty. And in addition to the Roundtable Draft, we always like to lighten things up around this time with our 7th inning stretch question of the day. Something a little offbeat and not necessarily a baseball topic. But in this one, at least, it's inspired by the events of the week. Jackson Merrill signing a life-changing contract, $10 million signing bonus, 9-figure deal. And so the question is, and Paulie, I'll start with you. If you signed a huge deal for whatever, your job was, and you had $10 million in the bank to play with, what would be your first big splurge item?
Interesting. I think you got to go with the new crib.
House.
I think you got to go with the house. Yeah. Get your dream home, get your dream neighborhood. I don't know if he's going to move over to Coronado with Manny and a lot of other players like to live over there. It feels like
guaranteed.
It feels like destiny at this point that Merrill ends up in Coronado Island. And then not just the house, but I would put the time and the money into the man cave that I've always dreamed of. And I mean, like, doing it with an unlimited budget type, not like a couple of TVs here and maybe a jersey or something hanging up. I mean, just do the full man cave. I don't like to go out. I don't like to leave the house. So I want to be comfortable in my my theater man cave room. That's probably number one.
Woods, I've seen your house. It's pretty nice. I mean, you never have invited me in. True. I've seen it from the outside, and it's nice. He doesn't invite anybody in.
Both of our shows have something in common. I've never seen Tony Gwynn Jr.'s house either. So there you go.
I've been in both of Tony and Chris's house.
So I'm assuming you don't need a house. What would you buy?
I need a chef is what I need.
A chef.
ASAFP is
that's a good call.
What I spend on DoorDash, I could probably afford one now. So no, it's the constancy. Really, the only thing we fight about is what's for dinner. And I would love to come home, have meals made, love to wake up, have meals made. Everything's there. Take this with you. This is your lunch. This is your breakfast. Here's your dinner. I made this tonight, and never have to worry again about going to the grocery store, cooking one of the 4 things I know how to make ever again. Taking care of the kids, like with good nutrition, and it's such a no-brainer for me. I mean, it would, like the first call would be probably to Manny's chef and be like, "Hey, can I get you as well?" It'd be my very first phone call.
We found Mookie Betts has 2 chefs.
Yes, 2.
Right? He's 2.
Yeah.
Two personal chefs.
Because,
I mean,
one for lunch and dinner, the other for dessert.
Why different cuisines? I mean, they're not all great at everything. You got to have at least 2, right, to cover your bases.
Yeah, it's such a no-brainer, man.
Matt, I wonder if we're possibly thinking along the same lines. What would be your first big splurge?
Well, I think I know where you're going. I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction, but in a fantasy world, I would love to be able to pay to play Augusta National. I know you have to be invited and all that stuff, but that's not what I'm going with here. I'm learning how to fly, and I'm buying a small plane.
Wow.
Because I have wanted to do that for a very long time. My grandpa, I grew up flying around with him. So I want to go and get my pilot's license, and then I want a plane that will be able to fly me around the southwestern United States.
All right, quick show of hands. Who wants to be the first to fly with Scraby as he flies you around San Diego in his little
I am a
plane?
very responsible person.
No takers.
Oh, I'm getting Chris in that plane if this
for the
ever
first
happens.
flight with Matt Scraby.
Now, Tony.
His first flight. Well, his first solo flight. I mean,
Tony would never. He is terrified.
His dad was famously very very scared of air travel. Had to do it, of course, all the time as a baseball player. I don't mind it. Woods, you don't love it, do you?
I don't love it.
Yeah.
No, I don't hate it. But
I
like
like going places. I don't like flying though.
The turbulence, I'm like,
I like getting there.
More, please.
I like getting there quick.
Yeah, I'm not gonna dissuade anybody of what they already think about me, but I would join a really nice country
Swanky.
club,
Of course.
really great golf course. You know,
Which
like
one?
Of those
Where we
ones
going?
where
which one?
The initiation fee is
gambling.
like the bridges or something like
There's no
$250,000
gambling at Bushwood, sir.
$250,000 initiation type fee.
Oh, goodness.
You know, where there's
the upper crust.
Like there's, and the course is usually empty because there's not that many members. So you can get out and play whenever you want. You don't have to wait for a tee time or anything.
It's kind of a waste, though, if you're a professional baseball player in your 20s.
I'm not. I'm just signing my own deal.
Oh,
you don't have to be a baseball
49 years
player.
old. You're not a baseball player.
I'm saying you just get a windfall somehow in your account.
Yeah,
and what would
fair.
be your first big splurge item? That would probably be
I guess that changes
mine.
it a little bit.
Braden,
I was
what's your-
definitely thinking like 21-year-old superstar just signed $130 million.
No, I'm definitely buying a house for sure.
House.
I'm living out in Del Mar or Coronado or something. Something by the
You already
coast.
live in Del Mar and
No,
Coronado.
I don't. I don't live in either of those places. I don't live in either of those places. No, buying a house would definitely be my number one. The closer to the beach, the better. That would be my my.
Do you buy
purchase.
your house first, or do you take care of the parents?
I'm buying. Well,
It's a good look.
It's always a good move.
First, really good.
what I
look.
could do. Here's what you do: you buy your parents the beach house and still have it, and then you live. I don't mind the house that they currently live in. I'll take that one over, and then I can make my visits to the beach house, and then later on I'll have my own beach
Fair
house.
enough. All right, Chris, you're wise. What would you spend?
I don't know
on?
that I
Bonds.
have enough. I don't know that I have enough money.
Stocks. Savings bonds.
I put in my
Stamps.
401k.
Coins.
10 million in savings bonds.
Trader Joe's crackers. That's what you would spend it on.
I don't know why you even came to me.
God, so much shade. New softball bat.
I can't afford I would love to own a team somewhere, but I guess I don't
That's a
own.
10
I
ain't
don't
getting
think
it,
that's
though.
quite enough money yet.
10's
So
not
Maybe
getting
the
it.
storm.
I think the freedom of having my private jet to go wherever I want to go. I think that is where I would go at this point.
We got a pilot
I'm your
for you.
pilot.
Private
Right
jet
here.
pilot for you.
I'm right here.
I got 135 million. I can hire an
No, you have
actual
10 million.
pilot.
You have 10
million.
You're gonna have it eventually, though.
Yeah.
So it's
I
I'm sure it comes at a discounted rate.
You imagine you show up to the hangar for that first flight. and-
Scraping.
Air scrape.
Here's your guy.
My hat.
Here's your guy.
Is he wearing a scrape?
Chris just turns around and walks the other way.
It would be fun to have that freedom, though. Honestly.
All right. I thank you for all your candid answers. I don't want to bring anybody down, but
Oh, boy.
Oh no.
all good things do come to an end at some point. Padres almost certainly will not go 162-0. How long do you think they're going to keep the winning streak going? Does it end tomorrow against Shildt Imanaga? Or are they just playing such good baseball that you feel like they have a few more in them? Can they sweep the Cubs and get to Sacramento, a team that just got bodied by the Cubs, and threaten the record, which is, I believe the modern record is 13 straight wins to open the season, with the Rays, the Brewers, and the Braves have all done it going back to the early 1980s. Chris, how long do you think they keep the wins going?
First of all, none of those three teams you mentioned made the World Series, so let's not put all of our eggs in that 13-win basket. Secondly, I think it only makes sense that they'll go 13. They'll sweep this road trip. They'll tie the record. They'll come home on a Friday night with a chance to make baseball history, and the stupid Rockies will be waiting for them.
No.
I mean, that's how it's going to lay out as far as I'm concerned.
Bad call.
Losing the Dinger, the Triceratops.
Braden, what about you?
I don't want to be pessimistic. I just the way that tomorrow lines up, I don't really like it too much. It's Imanaga versus Vasquez. Opening day for the Cubs. I mean, I could see that being kind of a loss. And again, as you mentioned, it's going to happen eventually. That doesn't mean I don't think they'll take 2 out of 3. But if I had to pick the next, I don't think the way that it plays right now in Sacramento. Is anybody watching any of those games? That might be a bandbox and a launching pad.
No
You
doubt.
might see a home run derby next week. I don't think they lose to the A's.
There's some weather too this weekend.
Right. So with the weather and the wind, I mean, I'm just having these flashbacks. Maybe it's PTSD. I could be imagining it, but I remember, didn't Vasquez get lit up there last time or something like that? Or I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember it being a rough outing potentially for Vasquez in Chicago. So I don't like the matchup tomorrow. I don't like the weather, the off of an off day, first road game. I could see that being a walk-off loss tomorrow.
Paul, you bring up the interesting point of the weather. If you want to stay undefeated, a good way of doing that is not playing.
It's true.
Yeah, it's hard. You have no idea what the weather's going to do.
Playoffs with a 7-0 record.
You don't know if you're going to have a double header.
Canceled after that.
You don't know if you're going to have a double header, if a game gets canceled.
That's tough,
you never
too,
know.
yeah.
That changes things
It's hard to
entirely.
sweep a doubleheader.
I'm predicting a 5-1 road trip.
Okay.
But I do think if I had to pick where that one comes, I agree. I think it would probably be tomorrow. It's opening day for the Cubs. That could give them a little bit of a boost. The matchup on the mound is not particularly great for the Padres. Certainly a winnable game. I do think if they were going to lose a game on this for at least for the next 3 games, I would pick tomorrow night. Then you got Nicky P on Saturday. I think they could bounce back and even win the series against the Cubs. And then you throw in King and Cease, at least, right, against the Athletics.
Both be in it,
yeah, so I think if they lose tomorrow, I think they finish out strong and come back home, 12-1?
Yeah, and no one's turning that down. I mean, we'd all sign up for 12-1 right now. And still, it's going to be frustrating when the Dodger fans on Twitter start making fun of the Padres
because they'll be 14-0
when they're 14-0 at that point. Woods, how long does this last?
Probably ends tomorrow.
Yeah,
to be honest with you. But hey, man,
that's just how he thinks.
I'm not going to change. Try to
make it clear to everybody that we all think we're going to go 162-0. This is just if it happens, it's going to happen.
I'm not going to. Listen, I love the hot start. I said all off season, it's so imperative this club gets off to a hot one. But the reality of baseball is we could be in here next Thursday, a week from today, and be a 500 team. It's just stupid. Baseball sucks like that sometimes. And the matchup. Yeah, I'm going to lean on the matchup of Imanaga throwing the ball really well in a home opener for the Chicago Cubs, who have a little bit of confidence. Granted, some of that confidence comes from hitting in Sacramento right now. But I'm not going to change the way that I look at. Hey, when you go on the road, try to go 500 on the road and play a little bit better at home. Try to win a series. You take 2 or 3 from the Cubs, I'm elated.
Scraby?
Last time that Shota and Imanaga, that's a hard name for me to say, faced the Padres at Wrigley Field. Jerks Profar hit that home run, the go-ahead home run, and then Michael Busch walked it off. Yep. So I'm thinking it's going to be this weekend. But in Fantasyland, 19-0. At least get to Tony Gwynn's number, and then you can lose.
It's funny.
Then you're allowed to lose.
Yes, then you're
I also see the possibility. It's Cubs. It's opening day. You'll have the sellout at Wrigley. A lot of good feelings. That's going to give the Cubs a big lift. But I keep coming back to Jackson Merrill's. We don't feel pressure. We apply pressure. And when the Padres go out tomorrow and play another really good game and grind down Shota Imanaga and then whoever comes in out of the Cubs bullpen, and all of a sudden at the end of the game they're up 6-2, I'm going to go, of course, because this is what this team just does every single game. I'm no longer surprised when they play well after just 1 week.
First time you get first licks, right? Yeah, first time you've been on the road. First time you're going to have to hit the 9th inning all season long. So, I could see it too, man. This team has surprised me a lot. But the way that they play, they're going to put the pressure on the Cubbies. But yeah, if I got to pick one, it's probably tomorrow.
All right, Toddy in the leadoff spot though, game changer. That can change your opening day festivity mood, happy mood and jovial mood. That can change real quickly with a nice little leadoff home run.
It's also going to be freezing
cold.
But what if the wind's blowing out at 60 miles an hour?
That's what I'm saying. It's possible.
Every pop-up's a home run.
We're going to need the Dave Marcus report.
Although I learned today that the Windy City is not named the Windy City.
There you go.
The Wind.
You're welcome.
People blowing it out of there.
I learned that.
Today.
I thought it was
Why is it called the Windy City?
Because they're blustery politicians that blow
Well,
hot
even
air all
more.
over the place. I had no idea.
Blowing in and
All
blowing.
right, we've got about 4 minutes left of our San Diego Roundtable Pizza Roundtable. It really is pizza royalty. We'll take a long term. What is AJ Preller now his focus? He's got Jackson Merrill locked in. There's no real great candidates for at least young guys for long-term extensions, but there's Dylan Cease, there's Michael King. Is there any trade possibilities he's working on? Woodsy, what do you think? What do you think's on AJ's mind right now?
I think pitching always on his mind, and I think you look at the first week and you go, oh man, we're set. We don't need anything. We just talked about some of the depth, but he's always going to be in the mix for a frontline starter. You can't ever have too much, as we know. Even though you can win a World Series with 2 starting pitchers and a really good bullpen, which we saw happen last year. I think his focus is going to be on pitching and again, still maybe a catcher.
Chris, what's on AJ Preller's next order of business?
I think just depth. Continue fortifying the roster. I'm still a question mark, as I said right at the beginning, is the bench as a whole. I'm not sold on Hayward. I'm not sold on Gurriel yet. I'm not even Iglesias. I mean, I like, the spark he brings. The catching situation, I think, still needs a little attention. Maldonado is kind of an automatic out, which is what we knew. So I think, you can do a little better, there's going to be times where the bench is going to have to be there because these Manny and Fernando are not playing 162 games. We know that.
Braden, what's next up for AJ?
In terms of like a contract extension, I'm going to have to go with Michael King out of the group. But in terms of just overall what he's going to do next, it's as these two guys said, it's definitely depth. I think it's starting pitching, and I think the problem with the catching situation. There's not a lot of options.
Nobody out there
because what you need as a catcher of a guy that can be a good defensive catcher and swing, they're unicorns. There's only a handful of them, and the one that you think you have is down in the minors right now. So I don't think that catching position is going to get addressed. So I would go with trying to find a way to strengthen the pitching staff.
Scraby?
All those are great choices. I think, like Brain just actually stole my thunder with the catcher point. That was a really good point because they are unicorns. I'm going to go with AJ finding a trade that helps with depth, and it might even come at the cost of Robert Suarez because you do have Jason Adam. I know he's got a big trade in him this year. Didn't do anything in the offseason. I'm thinking it's going to be some sort of trade.
And Paul Reindl.
I liked the King extension, but I think it's ultimately – I think he's already looking at what other teams may need and already starting to burn some hours on the phone trying to figure out if there's a move to be made. How can I make this roster better? It was our number one concern. One of our number one concerns was this team can't be 4 games, out of the wild card race when the trade deadline comes, because then Cease is gone, King's probably gone. All of a sudden you get off to a hot start and the mentality starts to change. Be like, okay, we're not going to be sellers. We're going to be buyers. And it doesn't have to be mid to late July either, as AJ has shown us time and time again, especially last year, getting Luis Arraez, first week of May, I think they made that trade. That never happens, but it does. AJ Preller will make the impossible happen. I do think he's going to look out, try to get some depth, probably most likely at the catcher position.
I think AJ has to do what is the hardest thing for usually AJ, although he did a pretty good job of it this offseason.
Nothing.
That is be patient. Play some pickup basketball and let this team just play for a while. Marinate and come together. And then, you reevaluate as, July starts rolling around and figure out what you need. But I don't think you really need to do or think about anything for a little while. Watch you guys minor league season starting, see how your young guys are doing. Let Mike Shildt and his coaching staff and your players just cook for a while, see how it's going, and then we can reevaluate in a couple of months, unless there's reason to hit a panic button. And so far, there are 0 reasons to hit any panic buttons in San Diego. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the first edition of the 97.3 The Fan Padres Roundtable, brought to you every week by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. It really is pizza royalty. Going to dig into a few slices, and then if you're live, it's the Braden Soprenet Show. If you're listening to the replay, then maybe it's the Scraby Show coming up next. I have no idea, but just stay tuned for more content coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. So long, everybody.
Padres Cubs tomorrow.
We're going to hang a star for Fernando Tatis Jr.
Pre-game 10:20 a.m. First pitch 11.